evening, everyone. We've had a little trouble with the town website. Apparently that's been cleared up, so we're gonna get going. We're a little late. So I'd like to welcome everyone to the joint hybrid planning board meeting of June 12th. And a call to order, Ms. Creighton,
Here.
Mr. Licio,
Here.
Ms. Foley,
Here.
Mr. Olney,
Here.
Ms. Filbert,
Here.
and Ms. Tenney.
Here.
Thank you all. Looks like we have a quorum tonight. I'd like to remind all board members, guests to be recognized by the chair if you wish to speak, and this meeting's being recorded. First item on the agenda is acknowledge receipt of correspondence. Listed on the agenda, comments for section 12 from Tim Gates, building code from Mark Glovsky, public hearing notice from Gloucester, and then today a June town meeting letter from Lorraine Iavoni.
John, a couple more. There was an email from Lorraine Iavoni, MBTA Task Force. And then there was a letter from the Essex County Club with the annual report, though I could not open that, so if we could get that resent.
Couldn't open it?
Did anybody else open it? Did you open it?
I didn't see it.
It was an email.
It's out in the SharePoint folder.
Okay, at
Yeah,
this
the
time-
Essex County, excuse me, this Essex County Club is just an email that references an annual report.
Did we get the
No,
email?
that's right, I did read, I saw that email.
Is there an attachment?
Because I know we were gonna ask them about PFAS, but so I don't know if it's in their report or not.
I thought those reports were referred to the DPW from way back, but I'll check. Okay.
It's a 48-page document. I could open it on SharePoint. You couldn't open it? Okay.
Is it a
Could you open it if I sent you an email?
Could you send me the email and then I'll
Yeah.
see?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, we just got it, so I haven't had a chance to review it, but I just figured everybody needs to have it.
Okay, thanks. At this time, I allow any public comments on items not on the agenda with a 2-minute time limit. Anybody from the public wishes to speak? Next item on the agenda, planning board organization. This would be for chair, vice chair, and clerk. Any nominations?
So I'd like to nominate you, Ron, to be continuous chair, Sarah to continue as vice chair, and Sue Philbrick to serve as clerk.
Okay, any objections?
Well, probably, no. No.
All those in favor? Laura?
I'm raising my hand in favor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Chris?
yes,
voting,
yes.
yeah.
Susan,
I abstain.
Stain, Christina,
I'm abstaining also.
Sarah?
I vote yes.
I vote yes, so it's 5-2. Thank you. The next item is the liaison openings and changes. So when Gary Gilbert left, he left several liaison positions open. We kind of postponed putting anyone in till after the election. In your packet was the current liaisons that we are participating in. And does anyone have any changes that they want to make with who they represent? And if not, I would like to look for people to sit on the Zoning Board of Appeals, which is open, Library Board of Trustees, which is open, and Building Inspector, Building. If not, I would. Anyone want those positions or
I'll
interested?
take building inspector.
Okay,
Hey Ron, it's Christine, sorry. I think the select board is finishing up their governance project. And part of the meetings that I listened to in the past briefly was the expectations of what this liaison is actually about. I don't know if we actually need everyone, a liaison for everyone, I think they were trying to stop the inundation of all these committees, and I think they have a plan to try and circulate information a little bit better, so. I mean, you're more privileged to that. Did you have that chairs meeting yet?
not yet, slated for later this month. Sarah, you have your hand up?
I couldn't hear, somebody said they were, doing the building inspector. I think I was the interim person to coordinate the building inspector, and I'd be happy to do that. Maybe somebody else said that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I said I would do that, that's good.
What about the ZBA? Susan, you have none.
Well, I'm the MBA task force.
That's true.
But
about-
I'll be happy to do it,
Um,
because I think that's an important one to have
They're
someone.
very much related.
To Christina's point on whatever the governance changes will be, I'll bring that to the board. But for now, let's appoint Sarah to building and
I think Mary said she wanted to do building.
Mary to building and ZBA to Sue Philbrick. What about Library Board of Trustees? I don't know if we,
Is that relevant?
I don't think it is. Gilbert took it for some reason. So I would say we will just refrain from that one. And everyone's comfortable with the ones that they have now? I have this Manchester Energy Efficiency Program. And I was wondering if anyone else might be interested in taking that. They've never really responded.
What kind of a body is it? Is it a?
Don't know much about them. I've asked them a couple of times if they had anything to do with land use, and I've gotten no reply.
Well, if it's
I'll continue.
sustainability related, I'm happy to, I'm already the liaison for sustainability, so there may be some.
But they might be related and maybe.
Maybe related, so I'm happy to be a liaison to them. I do take Christina's point that, there might be a better way to do this, but sure.
All
I'm
right.
happy to, I'm all in favor of energy efficiency and I'm happy to be a resource to them.
Thank you.
I mean that sincerely.
Okay. So we're a little late. I'd like to open the continued public hearing from May 22nd, site plan review, composting recycling center, 201 Pine Street, under town bylaw 4.2, table of allowed uses. I'll take some comments from the applicant, the town planner, DPW, the board, and the public. And as you all know, we have a draft decision written in our packet based on our comments from last meeting. So any comments from the applicant?
My name is Andrew. I'm from Black Earth Compost. I think I've only not met you, Mary.
Kat, nice to meet you.
I'm here to answer any questions, and Seth, the architect who's working for us, is online. So,
Hi, everyone.
Thank you. Betsy, can you explain what you've done and what's?
So based on the board's last meeting, I drafted up a draft decision. And we can go through it. One of the things that Andrew brought up in response to the draft decision, which was sent him Thursday of this past week, was he wants the plantings to be put in at an appropriate time. So probably early spring or late fall, because there's different planting windows for different species. Other than that, do you have any other issues?
No, it seemed fine. Whatever comments I had, or what I have, but yeah, with the plantings, it's just like if construction ends in December, I can't wait until plantings happen before occupancy happens, that's all.
Are
But
they-
I've consulted with my gardener a bit to discuss different options.
Okay, thank you, Betsy. Any comments from the board? Sarah, you have your hands up.
It's a question, comment, for Black Earth. Are you already, required to have a operations and maintenance plan for the Concom or any other, or the select board? And, first answer that question and I'll follow up.
We're required to have an operation and maintenance plan. I mean, there's components of it that have come from Concom's requirements. There's components of it that have come from DEP permit, like our operating permit, also the landfill permit. So, yeah, I've been putting it together, taking all the requirements from the different permits and boards.
So then my my comment would be that I think it's that the planner should be annually copied on the operations and maintenance plan. And I guess that's just an additional request. If we already have one, I don't think we need to add a second requirement.
I mean, I don't think we're required to provide one to the town.
Well, I guess then I think it would be prudent to have an operating and maintenance plan with an annual update to the town planner and the DPW.
Okay.
The board feel that way?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Any other comments from the board? Ms. Foley?
So I was not here on, May 22nd, but I watched the meeting. And I just wanted to ask, so it looks like there was parking for 15 spots, 15 cars and 15 trucks, is that correct?
I think there's a few more, maybe 35 or 36 total.
So combining the 15 and the 15. Yeah, so I guess my question would be that this would never expand beyond those 15 trucks, is that correct?
Nope, no. 15 of the collection vehicles is what I wrote in my proposal.
Okay. So it wouldn't go beyond 15 trucks?
15 of our collection trucks, yeah.
Okay. So I just didn't know, because it didn't look like there was room for expansion, so I just want to be clear that that's the size of the compost facility. And I think it was touched upon, that road, especially in the summer and especially on Saturdays for the transfer station, pedestrians, hikers, bikers, cars pulling in to walk the Gordon Woods, parking across the street. The police chief mentioned concern about queuing on Pine Street, and I didn't hear any real resolve to those things, so I'm wondering if we could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we, so in the new layout, there should be just as much queuing space as there was originally.
Okay.
Like originally, it was a single file line wrapping around. Now we put 2 or 3 lanes in like the front of the structure.
Okay.
So it's about the same. So in theory, now that you can park 5 or 6 vehicles for unloading, in theory people can get in and out faster. However, it's a little more communal. Everyone's in the same area, so maybe people are talking more. I don't know. So maybe it's a wash.
Okay.
But
So it's no worse than it currently is?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Okay.
But it definitely takes management and like having our staff person there.
Okay. And then there's only, so for say the transfer, there's only one way in, one way out, right? There's not the added, I know there was some discussion about the added curb cuts, but with the parking right across the street, I want to make sure that there's not multiple cars coming out at a time from the compost transfer station.
I don't follow exactly, but do you mean out of the exit for the transfer station?
So is there just one exit, I guess is my
Yes, for residents using the transfer station, it's just one exit.
And trucks wouldn't be exiting at that time also, would they?
They may be, but it will be.
At the same spot?
Yeah, at the same spot.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think those are my concerns, and then I have some edits to the decision once we get there.
To the decision? Okay, any other board comments? Laura Tenney?
Hi, thanks for coming for us again. Some of these are related to what's in the decision, so just the content, I think it covered our concerns from last time, but there were a couple more pieces of information we asked for. One was, and I don't know if this would have been Chuck or Nate, but a visit to the pedestrian and bike committee for discussions about what kind of trail planning they had or recreational access, and how that might be either impacted or advanced by the work that you're doing.
so I met with Bike and Pedestrian Committee last year when we were discussing this. I told them the plan, and they were generally okay with it. They liked how you could see more around the corner because there's not the forest there. But they were generally fine with it. I don't know what plans they have across the street.
I don't
I
either.
believe that's Gordon College.
Yeah,
So I ended up talking with the bike and plan committee, two
Okay.
people, and I forwarded them the plans.
Okay.
And that was 10 days ago maybe.
okay. I
And
see Nate's got his
I-
hand up, so maybe he's.
Nate has his hand up, maybe he can, maybe he has, Nate, do you have some information on that?
Yeah, so we had Terry and Joe stopped in our office last week, and we brought it up with them, and they really didn't see a need for having a bike path out there. They pretty much noted that it wouldn't really be used. They didn't think it would be used since most people going out there, on bikes or traveling on the dirt road at that point. So they didn't have anything in the works for any sort of, bike path out there that would, they thought would be necessary to add for this project.
Okay, thanks for closing the loop on that, Nate. I was just looking for that feedback. The other question I had, that's a dimensional one, so the draft decision says that the applicant shall install a vegetative buffer consisting of native species of trees and shrubs along the property line on Pine Street, and we did discuss that last time, but we didn't really set a dimensional requirement, so that could mean a lot of different things. What do you think that the site could accommodate, and could we put that into the decision as a minimum?
I mean, I could put 5 feet over where the stormwater swale is, and I think that's a good spot for plantings, because it's a pretty dry area. And
Yeah.
So if they can get more water that way, I think that'd be good.
Do you think that's the most that there's room for, because it doesn't provide much of a visual barrier for just 5 feet?
I think so, because the area that you're talking about has been encroached on in a number of different ways, and that's where we store brush and leaves. And
So that's on the
operations.
right-hand curb cut, is that right, that we were discussing before? I know that you had some concerns about the left-hand curb
Yeah.
cut and the,
Yeah, the right hand if you're looking at the property from the
Mhm.
street.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the one, the right hand. I think it's a fine idea. I just think we can only do,
So this is in the swale?
Yeah.
Okay, and so how long is that distance?
5 feet.
well, there's a length of the swale, right, and then there's a
Oh.
width of the swale, do you know how long it is?
Yeah, it's about 100 feet. But
Yeah.
basically be from the inside of the gate over, at
Toward
that
the
middle
pond.
curb cut, going all the way over to the stormwater pond area. Because there's that curb cut there for residents to come in.
So maybe Andrew is it Andrew from the architect?
Or Seth.
Oh, Seth, I beg your pardon. Seth, maybe you could answer, possibly looking at the plan?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just over 100 feet. So I don't know if I can pull up I could share the screen, Ron, if you want to give me the ability to do that.
yeah, so where that line of trees is.
So where this line of trees is, this is probably a little bit over 100 feet at the moment.
So the length makes sense to me. I'm just wondering if you can expand that to, say, 10 feet or even 8 feet, just because there's 5 feet doesn't provide much of a visual buffer.
Yeah,
Tree.
we can make it as thick as we can, but
Yeah,
it's like every foot in, like really encroaches on that space.
I
Which is
understand. Yeah,
Like, we didn't even have trees in the original bid specs.
that's part of why you're here, I think. So we're trying to make it a better project. It's a great project. We're just trying to improve it in a way we can. 20 feet depth is a rule of thumb for what a visual barrier is. I know that's not something you can accommodate,
Yeah,
but 5 feet seems like not enough to really be effective. So maybe Andrew could just dimension something on the plan. Excuse me, I'm sorry, Seth, I beg your pardon. Maybe Seth could dimension something on the plan that is workable, allows your function to happen, creates the biggest depth of whatever that can be. We don't need to know it now, perhaps, and that could just be written into the decision as a minimum.
yeah, I mean, I'd say it's 5 feet, just,
So, but if
Put a
you're
space
putting
there.
in like a deciduous tree that does well in a wet situation, you're talking, most trees get
We're talking
15
about the
feet.
ground plane,
Oh, okay,
so the vegetated ground plane that's not paved,
okay.
or a place where cars can
So-
travel on, is
5 feet is almost like a sidewalk tree, almost.
like a sidewalk
Yeah.
median, yeah.
yeah,
It's
but
not, it doesn't really provide a,
Right.
we're planning to put shrubs in, like in between the trees, like
Yeah.
native shrubs from the area.
so, yeah, so I appreciated all that. Maybe Seth could just dimension the plan and, put it on paper in terms of what's common. I think it's something that can be measured, and then, just document that in the decision.
Could we,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, isn't that right where that stormwater dump is, like where that big box and all the water is?
So that's farther down, that's actually right there.
Yeah, it's right over here in this corner.
So will you be able to cover that at all from the road?
I mean, along there, yeah, you could do more trees there.
Rule of sight distance to get on.
What does your COMSCOM decision say?
That this is just vegetated with grass.
What exactly is that box?
That's, it's a sediment catch, so before water discharges out to the wetland, they want to catch the sediment first.
And is all the stormwater going down to there?
That's how it's designed. It's over engineered, if that's what you're worried about.
I'm worried, because if it's coming from the landfill down, right?
Well, so the landfill sheds in all directions too.
Okay.
So it's more like from the road transfer station downwards. Like this. But
Yeah, so it all sheds down this way.
May I finish my?
Yeah.
Okay, so, so that was the request on the dimension of the swale, so, and then the last question was regarding Sarah's comment about an O&M manual. Are there any regulatory thresholds that you need to report on yearly to DEP or?
There's a couple of recording things, that basically I've gone through the permits, taken out anything I need as like an annual report requirement, I put it in the O&M.
And that's probably part of the order of conditions for the Concom, I would guess as well, or?
They're probably all
Yeah.
interrelated, yeah.
Right, so if the Concom has an order of conditions that requires annual reporting, then it might just be good to cross-reference that, so that we're not duplicating efforts.
Yeah, I feel like Concom's reporting ends after like 2 growing seasons.
Okay,
I feel like that's the extent of that.
okay, that's all my comments, thank you.
Christina? Christina, you have your hand up.
Sorry, I haven't used this in a bit, trying to unmute. Okay, thanks. So I guess I'm a little concerned about the opening few paragraphs. That, there was a staff meeting I have trouble with the quotes being provided in that document. I mean, this, what normally happens is we send out a document, all those people come back, we see those comments in writing. I don't remember seeing anything, so just putting people's quotes that, I mean, I have no privilege of, this is just hearsay, so I don't understand why we're not getting those firsthand information. All these people should be responding in writing. Let's see, we talked about night sky, when we talked about the outdoor lighting, we said that we were gonna put some time parameters on those to be off by the end of business. So I don't see that in there, and we also have lighting, a whole lighting section, so I don't know why we wouldn't just reference the whole section, why we're just saying night sky. So those are two of my concerns. And, just, my name isn't correct at the end, Mary wasn't present at the meeting, and again, that first paragraph of the, staff meeting, I mean, the board wasn't even actually made aware of this staff meeting, so we're putting it into a decision. Excuse me?
I believe we were copied on that.
I announced it at a planning board meeting.
I was copied on it.
Did we get an email?
You were wrong, it says you were there.
I was there.
So, I mean, is there minutes? I mean, I just don't, like, this is just shows up in a decision. I don't think this is, I've never seen anything quite like it before. So, again, normally we send out an email to all these boards, they send it back to us, we get to read the information firsthand. I mean, if we're signing something, I'm not very comfortable with signing hearsay. So, and this is the first time that we're seeing it. We didn't see anything from the fire chief, and we're having like quotes in here of thanks for including us. I just
There
don't
was
think
an
this.
email from the fire chief.
There was. We saw it.
Betsy, can you respond to these?
So,
They-
everybody was
I'm
sent the,
not finished, excuse me.
Excuse me, Christina, I
Yeah,
asked
that's
Betsy to
okay.
respond to
that's
a
okay,
couple
let her
of things.
finish.
I am not comfortable without something else being attached to this, to be putting these quotes in here. I think it's not very, professional, to be honest with you, and now I'm finished, thank you.
Betsy, do you want to respond? I think we had a.
So when we received the application, it was sent out to all applicable departments with a notice saying that we were going to have a staff meeting to discuss it, and written comments would be appreciated by a certain date. The only comments that I received in writing were from the fire chief via an email, which I believe everybody was copied on, and nobody else, similar to the two marina extensions when I first got here. There was only one written comment, and that was from the fire chief. Everybody else attended the meeting. I took minutes of the meeting, and the discussion from page 1 to page 3 reflects the discussion that we had at the meeting. People were told that they were advised that it would be helpful to put something in writing, and nobody did. They relied on the staff meeting. Except for the fire chief, who didn't attend the staff meeting, and he was, I quoted him for a reason, because that came from an email, direct quote from an email.
Any comment?
So I would agree with the night sky, I think we should maybe put some more parameters in there. And then the other issue with the decision is the first paragraph referencing section 12 and 6.5, which is all kind of non-existent, so we can't put that in a
But we've
legal
advertised it, so those exist now.
6.5 exists?
Well, the way the law works is that if you advertise it, the applicant is subject to it.
But we can't do a decision if we don't have a 6.5 bylaw.
It's advertised, and the applicant is subject to what we've advertised.
No, I understand that, but town council can weigh in, but we can't say we're reviewing this under section 12 and section 6.5 if they don't exist. That's my point. So we can't, I mean, we can make a decision, but we can't say we're doing it under these sections if we don't have them in our bylaws.
So we won't have a decision until they're in our bylaws, is that?
Well, the
that-
building
is that what
inspector
you
did
said?
say it came under 4.2, so I'm, we can drop 12 and 6.5, but I do still think they apply because we've advertised it.
I have a suggestion.
Chris?
Why don't we just add the word as advertised after section 6.5 and 12?
I would oppose that. I don't think you can make a legal decision. I mean, we could advertise anything then and decide on it. That doesn't make any
Why don't we
sense to me.
consult with legal counsel when he comes on?
Actually, he should be here tonight at some point.
Yeah.
Jonathan Murray's coming tonight for the hearing.
We'll hear. So, any more comments from the board? Any comments, Sarah, sorry.
Are you speaking to me?
Sarah, board member, Sarah Creighton first.
Sorry.
I was simply just gonna say, I think we can, move the decision ahead, and if there's and authorize Betsy to make any changes to the numbering, as needed.
So you wanted to add some timing on the lights?
So I think it's, I mean, and Christine she's the one that brought it up, but then I saw it under the draft, it was hard to see. The night sky, it just says, limited lighting is proposed on site and is to be dark sky compliant with down lighting. To me, that doesn't seem to hold a lot of weight, but others might have a different view.
I mean, section 6.3.4 is completely outdoor lighting. I don't know why we wouldn't just reference that. And we had talked at the last meeting that they were going to have the lights turned off when they were finished with the business, which I think they said 8 o'clock at night. So those hours of operation of outdoor lighting are not referenced here.
Was there a security issue or not?
I mean, it'd be a good idea to have some, like, a couple lights on, like one in the transfer station area, one in front of the building, but, I mean,
It's not really a,
I'm well for seeing the stars, so, I don't know, is it
why don't we
possible?
say the lights are on 2 hours after working hours, and then they go off till work, and then 2 hours before working hours, or something like that. Laura?
We did discuss timing last time, and I think it makes sense to put that in. We have other timing regulations, like for ball fields, it's 11 p.m., I think. So I think that would be a good addition, and we can certainly hear from you what is reasonable. As far as dark sky, that has a specific technical meaning. So if it's dark sky compliant, that has everything you need. And I asked for that to be in last time, so I'd like to see it in there because it means that lights will be down lighting, they will not cast any light upwards, and you have to have a specific performance spec of the light to meet that criteria. It's not just a kind of a qualitative thing.
And Andrew does have a spec for a dark sky compliant light fixture that we did kind of show. We didn't show all the specs, but we did showcase it during last meeting. So we can provide those specs if needed.
Is it possible to have some lights on for security, like 3?
So this is why I think I asked about this, and we had talked about having security that was motion sensor, but we were concerned about the wildlife just triggering it. I do have, I mean, there's no lighting out there at all, so to, disrupt, the wildlife that has never seen lights 24 hours 7, we had talked about it being off when, the lights being off during business, when business was not in operation. So if you want to try, motion censored ones and see if that works, but I'm not okay with it being on 24 hours.
Ron, if I may?
Yeah, Sarah?
I think Christina makes a good point. Our new section 6.3.4 has outdoor lighting standards that I would suggest we just reference in the decision. They are shielding, light trespass, light color, flickering, searchlight prohibited, indoor lighting shall not project outside, outdoor signs, lighting shall requirements, hours of operations, except as deemed appropriate for site safety or security, all external lighting shall be extinguished 1/2 hour after the facility is closed for the business day. Such lighting may be limited to resume 1/2 hour prior to the arrival of first employee. Motion activated lights are encouraged for security purposes. So I think that kind of covers all the issues, and I'm pleased to see that it seems like they make sense and cover all the issues that we're raising.
Okay, so I would put
And
that.
night sky is dark sky compliant is in there too.
Laura?
We've been having a lot of conversation about motion sensor versus a clock. A clock is something you can turn off after business is through for the day, 1/2 hour, whatever the relevant time is. A motion sensor is something that's gonna be triggered by any movement of the site, whether it be, a raccoon sniffing around or a person. And if they're on a clock, that clock can be adjusted if something needs to change and you need it to be on longer. So I would discourage motion sensor lights in an area that's basically an open kind of unpopulated area. I think that could be disruptive
Yeah, I would
and
agree.
wildlife, so I would discourage that.
I agree with that. Okay, any more comments from the board? I'll take comments from the public. Sarah Pierce?
Hi, sorry about that. I could not unmute myself. Sarah Pierce, 9 Front Street. I wondered if you could just explain to the public what advertising means instead of being a rule or regulation.
Well, I guess we're gonna get town council to opine on that.
I don't think so. He's not here. He won't be here for another half hour. So when a project comes through and needs a public hearing, it's advertised in the Cricket twice in consecutive editions, and then it's also posted in several locations.
Okay, so you mean advertised. All right, I'm sorry. I misunderstood that. I didn't know what that meant. So thank you for clarifying.
Okay, any more comments from the public? So, to move the decision along, we have a draft decision. We've had some additional comments to put in under conditions. My suggestion is that Betsy goes ahead and adds the conditions, citing the lighting, the dimensions of the buffer.
Yeah.
Mary, you had some concerns on some spelling, and there was.
No, I have concerns about referencing section 12 and 6.5, and
Right.
then
I
I
will
was
talk to
not in
legal
attendance.
counsel about that.
I was not in attendance on May 22nd, where it lists that I was.
Yeah, so if you can correct some of those administrative
Okay.
things. My suggestion would be to vote the decision with the idea that these changes will be, these additional conditions would be added to be vetted once they're added by the chair and the planner, and then sign off on it, so we can move this along. Otherwise, if the board wants to see the final decision, we can continue the hearing, but I would like to move this along if we could, and I think we're close. So,
Do we have to take a motion to close the public hearing and
Yes.
okay, so at this point, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
so moved.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Sarah, Christina?
I'm actually gonna vote no. I'm a little concerned that changes are not being made on a consistent basis here, so to me, this lighting is pretty important, so I need to see this final draft.
Are we just voting on closing the hearing?
Oh, sorry, yes, close the hearing, sorry.
Okay, so it's unanimous to close the hearing. Now, regarding the decision, what's the pleasure of the board? Sarah, you want to?
Yeah, I'll move to, approve the site plan, application and, modify the draft decision, subject, referencing the appropriate sections with council approval and referencing outdoor lighting standards of 6.3.4, excluding the use of motion activated lights and the addition of the dimensional requirements that were mentioned prior. And I think those were the changes, but I am open to any other changes that should be enumerated. Anybody has any before a second?
Take my name off the 22.
Yeah, I got it.
Typo, administrative changes.
And remove references to those two items that Mary, was it 6
Yeah.
point?
And
12 and 6.5.
no, we're gonna check with legal counsel on that.
Yeah, they all
So, did you want the O and M, any
Oh, yes, the
copy
addition
of
of the
O and
O&M.
M?
Yep.
So
that-
manual update,
Yep, thank you.
okay.
Okay, so the motion is to refer to the lighting to our 6.3.4 and exclude the motion detector, annual O&M manual, additional dimensions on the buffer zone, and to check with town council on references to 12.0 and 6.5.
Right.
Is that seconded?
Second.
Any discussion?
I,
Mary?
thank you. I am not comfortable voting on something I have not seen, so I will vote no. It doesn't matter, it'll go 5-2, but I'm voting no.
Understood. Laura?
I'm pleased to see the changes that we made tonight. I think we've got the required information, and I think we know what the changes are that are gonna be stated. So I am concerned that we are slowing down worthy projects. You know, there are shovels in the ground here that's made sort of a detour, which was the appropriate detour to come before the planning board. But I don't wanna see us hold this up for another 2 weeks based on checking the town planner's work, which we've clearly stated how we wanted the decision to go. So this is not just about this one, but I think as a practice, we need to have faith in the process that we request the changes are made. We're down to the details at this point. There are no deal breakers here that we haven't discussed that are gonna be in here. So I would strongly encourage the board to approve this tonight. I think this is a really important project in Manchester. And there's a limited window in which you can build these kinds of things, so that I would encourage us to consider passing it tonight, or voting to pass it.
Susan?
I just want to echo what Laura said and add that, we are talking about a waste disposal and compost facility, the transfer station out in the LCD. We have not heard anything from any abutters. It's not in the middle of a neighborhood, and I agree with Laura's concern about sort of slowing things down. This is not a project we should be slowing down. They provided quite a bit of information. There's a huge benefit to the town on the project. I think we've tweaked the small things that needed to be tweaked. I think they've done a lot that's right in designing this project, and I support it, and I hope that we'll move it forward tonight.
Okay, any further comments from the board on the motion?
I would like to make a comment, and
Christina.
my comment is this, that, details are important. This is a decision that will be filed with the court. I brought up the hours of operation at the meeting 2 weeks ago. It was not included this, so I do not feel that our comments are making its way into the document. So again, I will not vote on a document without seeing it in writing. And my signature will mean something, and I want it to be, as it should be. It should be a perfect document. To me, good enough is not our expectation. It should be what we stated. And this document does not reflect what I requested 2 weeks ago. So therefore, my vote is no. Not that it's not a good project. This document, it doesn't reflect information that was expressed 2 weeks ago.
Any other board comments? I'll take a roll call vote. Ms. Philbrick?
Yes.
Ms. Foley?
I vote no, it's not about slowing down a project, it's about doing our job correctly, so I vote no.
Mr. Olney?
Yes.
Ms. Tenney?
Yes.
Ms. Creighton?
Yes.
Ms. Delicio?
No.
And the chair votes yes. So, 5-2. Motion passes. Thank you.
So Andrew, this will get corrected, reviewed by the chair, recorded with the town clerk, and there's a 20-day appeal period. Okay?
Cool, thank you. I'll stick around.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Seth.
So Ron, are you the only one that signs the document?
Apparently, that's still in effect, that I have signing power on these decisions.
Yes.
It hasn't changed.
I just would like to clarify, since we voted no, could someone clarify? I mean, hopefully my name is spelled wrong on the signature page, but I have no intention on signing that document.
Well, I think all of our names would be taken off and it would just be the chairs. The back page, correct? And then you'll just put it in the next meeting folder.
Okay, the next item, I'd like to open the continued public hearing. Continue from 410, adoption of rules and regulations, Mass General Law 40A, Section 9, Mass General Law 41, Sections 81A and 81B. The town planner has placed the revised document on SharePoint. We are behind in adopting these rules and regulations. I'm going to ask from the town planner on what has been done to date. And I will ask where the subcommittee stands, and aside from emotional reasons why the town's planners was not considered and not included in their meetings. So first, I'll ask from Betsy on what's in our packet today.
So what's in your packet, there were some slight modifications to the, based on discussions with DPW on the curb cut document. And Chris only had sent me what he and I'm assuming the subcommittee had worked on for curb cut. I reviewed it with DPW and with Gail Hunter. We decided to make a couple of changes. We drafted an application for the DPW and then a special permit application for the planning board. And then this afternoon, I got comments from Sarah Creighton on a couple of things. So that's why you have a paper copy in front of you. Which is, and I'm trying to think if I sent that out.
What's the paper copy?
It is in SharePoint.
Yeah, I put it in SharePoint. Basically, Sarah had some changes to the curb cut language, and I can review them.
So can I just, a point of
Mary?
Nothing? I don't know, point of order? We don't have curb cuts on the agenda, we just have Article 1, so if we can just stick with Article 1.
It should be everything, the rules and regulations.
So we
It's
just
part
have,
of the public hearing, on rules and regulations. I think it's all encompassing.
so I
Article
didn't,
1 is something we wanted to at least vote on that, move that forward. And maybe some of these other articles, move them forward. Let's go back and review when the subcommittee didn't meet till recently. They stopped meeting because of the recodification. That ended in November. The committee started to meet. I think the board voted to, the town planner went ahead on her own and provided us with rules and regulations. The subcommittee was supposed to get together with the planner. The board made comments on those, diligent comments. And then the subcommittee was charged with getting together with the town planner and banging out any changes. And this is the way I see it went, and that didn't happen. Town planner was not included in any meetings. And the answer I got from the subcommittee is that anyone can attend these meetings. So it just doesn't seem like the town's best interest is at heart here, without using the professional town planner to help us with this. So I'm getting a little frustrated with this thing that's gone on and on and on, and we're trying to get this thing done, and what's going on. We're not informed about what you're doing, there's no minutes about what the subcommittee's doing, there's no communication with the chair as to where you stand. I know nothing about what's going on, and the town planner hasn't been included, and Chris only resigned from the subcommittee with his reasons for resigning. So I'm a little frustrated with this whole procedure, and I don't know why we're gonna sit around here and say, well, this isn't on the agenda, we're not gonna do this, and we're not gonna do that, and we just wanna delay and delay and delay everything. I'm tired of it. I'm just tired of it. And we wanna get this stuff done, we're gonna get it done. And if we have to vote it, we'll vote everything going forward. Sarah, you have a comment?
so,
Yes, thank you. I went back and looked at the last meeting, May 22nd. I listened to the tape, and at hour 2, we clarified the expectations of the working committee's next work, and that was specifically to make suggested modifications to the Article 1 site plan review and special permit that were before us from the town planner. So I guess my question is, are there any track changes or changes to the Article 1 and site plan review? And I didn't see any in our packet, so I suggest that we close the public hearing at least for the section on Article 1, site plan review, special permit, and the curb cuts.
so I don't know if you want me to address any of your concerns
Yeah.
for the subcommittee. So the subcommittee was formed a long time ago, and then COVID and recodification and all of that. So we started meeting back up. We were supposed to meet last week, and the admin unfortunately never posted the meeting, so that's why we weren't meeting last week. We have a meeting scheduled for this week. We've gone through the first 3 articles, and with Chris involved, there was no intention of not including the town planner. I think they were just posted on days that the meeting rooms had availability. I do not post the meetings, so I don't know that part. The concern is the back and forth, that we had a subcommittee. The interim town planner went and spent time writing a document that we didn't ask. Then we all commented, yet most of my comments were not in the draft. So the town planner decided my comments for like a planning board clerk, et cetera, things like that were not relevant, yet as we know, it is actual state law that we need a clerk for planning board. So my concern is behind the scenes, somebody's determining a board member's comments are relevant or they're not relevant, that's not open meeting, and that's an open meeting law violation. So then the board decided to go back and have the subcommittee work on it, which we've been doing. So it's not dragging our feet, it's trying to do a good document. We're through the major sections, they're out on SharePoint. So I'm not, I don't know what the concern is. Again, if the board wants to go back and revert back again to an old document, I just ask that my comments are inserted into the document so all the board members can review at once and not have it done behind the scenes.
So where did you send your documents to? Your comments to?
My comments,
Yeah, on where did they go?
they went to the town planner like it was instructed a month or so ago. And that's with the meeting that we started, and I said, well, Mike, this comment isn't in, that comment isn't in, and I guess it was just decided what was included and what's not, and that's not the process of a public board to have staff decide what is relevant and what's not. The board needs to discuss these things in an open meeting.
Sarah?
Where are the results from the subcommittees input? They're not on SharePoint that I see.
There's a folder that
There's a
says,
whole rules and regulations folder.
But no one's been told that they're there. So how are we to know that? So on May 22nd, we had a specific charge. And it said, review Article 1, site plan review and special permit that Betsy had provided and make suggestions. So,
so the problem that,
One person at a time.
The second comment I have is I don't believe it's an open meeting law violation if we give our staff, one person gives our staff a comment and then she makes a professional judgment to include or not include it. I think that's an inaccurate statement. It's a professional judgment. And I have also given Betsy comment that she has, in her professional judgment, decided to not include. It's not singling any one person out. It's using our staff appropriately. So that's my opinion on that.
It is an open meeting. I can send decisions if you want.
So,
If I may,
Chris,
where are the documents that were supposedly, how are we supposed to know that they're there? And,
Sarah, I think Mary just clarified that. The meeting wasn't posted, that we were going to finalize them. We did finalize them in the meeting. We couldn't put them up there because we actually didn't meet last week because the staff didn't meet. The staff didn't post it. So, and the agenda for Thursday's meeting is incorrect. So when I was doing things on my own, they were getting done properly. When I turned over and relied on staff, they didn't get posted, and my very first agenda is not posted. So it's really difficult to trust staff when you turn it over and things don't get done and things are done inaccurately. So the document that the town planner provided for us has a lot of inaccuracies in there. I told that at the last meeting. The document, there's a folder, and it's called Rules and Regulations. And I didn't put it out there because we didn't meet last week. It's there.
Okay, I'd like to hear from Chris first. He was on the committee.
So I have a couple of things to say about this. The first one is that any regulation is better than no regulation, and right now we have none. Anything we do is going to be better than what we have now. The second thing is, having worked on both sets of regulations, they're not that very far apart. One of the problems, I think, is when you try to change a paragraph, you delete the entire paragraph and insert a new paragraph, and it looks like they're completely different, but it's actually all the same boilerplate underneath it. There's no difference in intention, it's just the use of specific words. And I think we can get embroiled in language when what we really should be reviewing is what the intent of these is and what are we trying to say to the people, not whether it's one word versus another word. The words are all pretty much the same in both versions of this. And the third thing I want to say is that having been on this, what I've learned on the subcommittee is that it is very difficult to draft a document in a group setting, and I think we've all had that experience. It just takes a lot of time, and when we have trouble posting meetings and all that on top of it, it just gets to be too unwieldy. So I think we'd be better off taking a draft, having people submit comments, then if there's a controversy over its insertion or a deletion, let's vote on them, but let's just get it done. In fact, one of the things about these regulations is they're, unlike the zoning amendments that we're doing, it doesn't require town meeting to approve them, we can just approve them ourselves. So I think what we should do is approve these, try them out, and then in a couple of months or 6 months or something, we can review them and see how they did and make adjustments accordingly. Have another public hearing if we have to. So I think we're getting a little bit caught up in the importance of this. And they are important, don't get me wrong, but I think we can do this without all this angst, frankly.
Laura?
I'll go ahead, I think Betsy was gonna respond.
So this has dragged out for a while, and what I would suggest is, I wrote a fairly detailed comment in my staff meeting, a staff memo, if anybody read it. And we've had 5 public hearings on this, and 2 meetings prior before we advertised the public hearing. So my concern is there is a whole lot of information in Appendix F of the subdivision rules and regulations. That's not where it belongs. And also when we advertised it for general rules and regs, conduct of meetings, site plan, special permit, driveways, and moving documents out of the subdivision rules and regs. So what I would suggest, I went back through it again and made some corrections which are on SharePoint. And what I would suggest is you vote it contingent on having legal counsel approve it.
I would just request that, that we're able to review a document that at least, the board's comments are inserted for the board to review. I mean, the board can't review if they're not in there. Or I'm happy to send
The only comment that I think I did not include of yours was the comment to remove the section,
I didn't know.
the Article 3, which you thought should be deleted, which was an explanation of how zoning bylaws are adopted. And the main reason that I put that in there is I felt that somebody should be able to look at rules and regulations and not have to dig through Mass General Law. And that was explained many months ago.
Well, just to be clear, and again, we don't need to rehash this because again, it will get voted through 5-2, but that is not the only one. I'm just asking for my voice to be heard as much as any other board member, and that other board members are able to see what I inserted and either approve it or not approve it. That's all I'm asking.
Seems fair. Laura?
I'm looking at the document that was in SharePoint last night, which I have looked through, which has comments tracked on it, which also has some kind of editorial notes about somebody wanted this to be deleted, here's why I think it should stay, and other things that are kind of notes that should probably be deleted once we resolve that, right? They're not part of a regulation. I would request that we get past the he said, she said, and who didn't do what. I think that we should all work in good faith, that we're all professionals and we're trying to do the right thing. We have one document in front of us. That's the document that I'd like to suggest we all look at, one document that is not, multiple versions of things or in different places. Because I believe the town's interests are better protected by having regulations. These are rules and regulations that are very much process-driven. I don't think there's a lot in here that should be contentious. I think that we should go through the substantive things and talk them through and vote on this and not bounce it again to the next hearing, because I feel like it's not a productive use of our time. It's not in the interest of our town to start each time trying to make a regulation, to edit the regulation in a committee setting. I think one person has to draft it, taking the comments, and then we have to talk it through and we have to vote on it, because I'm concerned that we're mired in kind of dysfunction here and we're not advancing the business of the town. And I don't think it's in the interest of the town to keep bumping this off. I believe that we need these regulations. We have some important projects coming that depend on these regulations, and we're really just trying to get clarity about where things belong and what the processes are. And I think that we can do that if we all agree to look at one document and move on with it.
Sarah Craig.
Just to follow up on Laura's, I actually think that, I know it may not feel this way to particularly Christina and Mary, and I apologize but we have been like 3 months trying to get the specific comments from the subcommittee incorporated here, and they're not in our meeting packet. They may be in another place that we were supposed to go look, but there's been no correspondence to do that. So let's take any let's pass these, and as Chris said, we can come back to them and make them better. But we've got big projects coming up. We're spending time doing things that don't make sense. So I think we have given a lot of time for the subcommittee to present specific adjustments, and I haven't seen them yet.
Well, when staff doesn't post meetings, it becomes very difficult to relay that information.
What did she say?
Meetings are posted. She said a meeting.
There was one meeting that was not posted.
Well, that puts it out.
Well, let's not point fingers. We were just trying to move forward in a constructive way, and we're back to pointing fingers again. So, I mean, where does that get us? Really? I mean, I'm tired of it. I'm just tired of it. So, take a motion from the board to,
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on this matter.
I'll take any comments from the public first.
Oh, probably a good idea. Thank you.
Any comments from the public? Ms. Pierce?
I think her hand has been up for a while from the last correspondence.
Ms. Peterstraub? Sylvia? Could you identify yourself?
Oh, sorry, Sylvia Friesner, 52 Mascanoma Street. I just want to echo what Laura and Sarah said. I'd say get on with it and get that done. And as Chris said, it's not going to be final. So I would just spend your time on working on the really important things. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Okay, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing on rules and regulations.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, raise hands.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Christina?
Yes.
It's unanimous. So, now moving forward with the rules and regulations. I like the idea of having one document. I think we should put all our comments to the one document, but ahead of that, looking to approve, as you said, we can always change it, I'm looking to approve these articles, 1 through 7.
Okay, get back to,
So I will point out again that we've only posted for Article 1.
Without the aid of town council, I will say that the agenda says the rules and regulations, adoption of rules and regulations. I don't think that's an issue to.
I'll make a motion to adopt the rules and regulations as amended by the track changes document with the addition of the changes for Article 7, driveway entrances. And let me clarify that what I did is gave Betsy some language to align those driveway regulations with the general bylaw that we adopted at the November town meeting. So I've made a motion to adopt them all as amended.
So Sarah's motion is to adopt all. Is there a second? Betsy, you can't second.
oh,
Oh,
no,
second.
Any discussion? Mary?
So, and again, maybe others knew this, but how are we to know as a board to review sections 1 through 7 if only Article 1 is listed?
I believe they were all in our packets. Correct me if I'm wrong, I thought they were all given to us in our packet.
Yeah, they were posted on Friday in our packet, but it's been posted in our packet for a long time, so I'm just
So you'd
looking
like
for
to
clarity.
delay this for another
No,
couple
well,
of weeks and continue?
It's not about delay, I'm just trying to do correct process as we're going through the process. And, again, it will get voted 5-2. I've expressed my concerns that my input has not been put into the document and we haven't posted it properly. So that's the last I will say of that.
Betsy, can you?
a couple of points. One of the things I'm asking for is to remove the fee schedule and all zoning applications from Appendix F. And Article 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Are new. Article 6, which is groundwater recharge, I have not changed because we didn't advertise it at the time. And the subdivision rules and regulations, which is Article 8, is not changing until we rework those. And Article 9, which is appendices, so the fee schedule gets brought out of the subdivision rules and regulations. I'm recommending that the fees for site plan change from 150 to 300, recommending special permit move from 175 to 400, and then basically approve the applications and checklists as noted in my memo. And then also Article 10 includes references, which was requested by Sue Philbrick.
So, thank you for the clarification, but we've had a motion on the table, so I would ask Sarah, would you withdraw your motion subject to these new clarifications from the town planner?
Yes.
All right, so should we vote these one by one, these articles? Betsy?
I have one more comment. Ms. Foley indicated that there was something not right about these regulations, and I would suggest that perhaps legal counsel review it. Because I I don't agree with her, but legal counsel could review it and see if there's anything not appropriate.
What did I say?
You made a comment to the effect that these were not right.
No, I don't believe I said that. I said the comments that I submitted were not inserted. And that's not right. That's the comment I made.
Well, the only comment that I did not include of your comments was the elimination of section 3.
And again, I don't want to do this back and
I know.
forth, painful. But we had a meeting a few meetings ago where I had to go point by point of what was not inserted. So it's much more than one.
So to Chris's point, we can always change these if they're not working. We're not putting any undue burden on anybody with this approval. Laura?
I think that having town council review our regulations to make sure that they are in fact legal and correct in the sense of not being, having an unintended consequence of something that we wrote in the best of intentions makes sense as good practice. So I think that if the board agrees that that's a good idea, after we review this, it would make sense for town council to look at it, unless there's some reason we think that's not a good idea.
No, I think it is a good idea.
Yeah,
I agree.
So we can approve with the condition that, subject to town council's review? Or do we want to continue this for further discussion at our next meeting?
Yeah, I would like to put it off till the next meeting, and I'd like to include a couple of small things that would be easy to stick in. For example, we should talk about the officers. That there's a chairman, a vice chair, and a clerk. That should be in the regulations. Some of there's a word protective zoning occasionally pops up in these, and I don't know what protective zoning is, but it might confuse people.
Well, most communities call it the protected zoning
Well,
bylaw.
we don't, it's not in our
Okay,
zoning.
so
ordinance,
that
we should
one.
take it out. And there are a couple of little ones like that we talk about the responsibilities of the town planner, but we don't list the responsibilities of the administrator.
No, they're in there,
They are? Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't see them.
they're in there.
it's pretty comprehensive.
Okay, well, then,
Why,
no,
why don't we do this? We can, if the board's going in that direction, why don't we get your back up on SharePoint on all the articles and all the, get all the input from the board, get all the comments in, and then we'll take a look at them. We'll put them in our packet for our next meeting, and we'll have town council review.
and could I ask there be a clear copy as well, to not just a markup, but just what the clear thing would look like?
We can do that ourselves
We can.
by just with you
If we
voting.
get the live document, yeah. Is that kind of where the board wants to go? Christina, Sarah, Laura, go ahead.
I mean, I have little tweaks we could make too, again, in the quest for perfection, but I feel like this is comprehensive. If there's terminology that's standard zoning law terminology and the lawyer looks at it and says, yep, passes my sniff test, I do not feel the need to review at this time, to hold it and continue it at the next meeting, because we've had this document for some months
Since
now.
March.
And we've all had opportunities to comment on it. I personally think we can continue to edit and edit and edit, but I do think there's other business, and these are 95% there, if not more, and there isn't probably anything that's not 95% there, right? There's always something that we would change if we went back to take another look at it, so. My feeling is I don't need myself to hold it again and take another look at it.
So are you suggesting to approve them subject to town council approval?
Were there any other clerical or No, I don't know if there was another.
Not that I know of. I thought you pretty much captured a lot of the changes from what I read. I mean, I don't know what the subcommittee had in mind, but Sarah, you have comments?
Yeah, I'm gonna just echo Laura's comment. We've had this for a long time. If we need to make additions, then put them out there in a parking lot, and in 2 months, make a motion to open a public hearing to add in the descriptions of the roles of various people or whatever other omissions are surely lurking there. But let's get this done. We've got cell signaling coming along also tonight. We still have some really important work to do. I think we should, I've made a motion to approve them as amended, subject to town council's review. And I'd like to vote on that motion.
So, just to be clear, we're approving not all, some of these are removals, correct?
So you're removing everything from the subdivision rules and regulations.
Yes.
You're removing all the applications and all of the documents in Appendix F of the subdivision rules and regs. And then basically you would be approving Article 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Article 6, you're just bringing over from the subdivision rules and regulations. I have not changed that. That's groundwater recharge. 7 is driveway entrances, which you're approving per tonight's changes from Sarah. 8 is the subdivision rules and regulations, which we're bringing over from the you're not touching the subdivision rules and regulations. You're keeping that as is. 8 is appendices. You're basically approving some documents there.
9 is, yeah.
9 is references and 10 is.
10 is references, 9
10
is
is
appendix.
references.
So
Could I just,
I'm thinking we need to clarify. Mary?
so Mass GL 41, Section 81Q, if we want to change our rules and regulations, our subdivision rules and regulations, we have to post for 2 time periods in the newspaper, just like the public hearing. So we would have to post that we're changing our subdivision rules and regulations.
You're not changing them though.
Well, we're taking something out.
It was,
Right.
it was posted that there would be a removal from Appendix F of the zoning documents that should not be in Appendix F, which is part of the subdivision rules and regulations. And it was legally posted.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that we've discussed that we're changing rules and regulations. I think the public hearing closed, so we discussed it after the public hearing closed, but I will leave it to those that know better.
Susan?
So Betsy just referenced Articles 8, 9, and so on, and Sarah's motion I thought was Articles 1 through 7, so now I'm a little bit confused.
Yeah, we need to clarify in the motion.
And, yeah,
If you go by my staff memo,
but I'm trying to understand the motion that I'm
okay.
being asked to vote on.
Through 7 was my motion. That, through driveway entrances.
Great.
And then actually, Article 6 is a removal. It's not really an approval, it's a removal, well, it's approval to remove.
You're just removing the application from Appendix F and you're keeping it in a separate document in the rules and regs. And then subdivision, which is 8, is not being touched. And so appendices, which is 9, and references, which is 10, should be included in the motion.
But they're not right now.
Yeah, so I would,
amend my motion to, as Betsy just stated.
Include Articles 9 and 10
10.
Yeah.
in the approval, which is a
Thank you.
fee schedule and references. So
Yeah.
to recap, the motion is to approve the rules and regulations, Articles 1 through 7, 9, and 10. Is that correct? Sarah, you are in concert with that?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion has been made. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Take a roll call vote. Ms. Tenney?
Yes.
Mr. Olney?
Yes,
Ms. Foley?
Absolutely no.
Ms. Philbrick?
Yes.
Ms. Creighton?
Yes.
Ms. Delicio?
Oh, again, 5-2. Surprise, surprise.
And the chair votes yes. The motion passes 5-2. Okay,
So I'll submit those to legal counsel tonight.
thank you. So I'd like to open the continued public hearing, continued from June 6th on Section 12, Administrative, 6.5, Site Plan Review, and Scrivener, cross-referencing changes. We need to vote the language tonight for the town warrant, which is going in tomorrow. Tonight's discussion will be on the proposed warrant articles. So I will start by taking comments from our town planner on what's transpired in the past since our last meeting on Tuesday.
So,
We also should have legal counsel here. Jonathan Murray, welcome.
so there were 3 articles proposed. The first one, because town meeting didn't get to section 12 at the fall 2022 town meeting, site plan review was inadvertently omitted. And
Ron, I'm really sorry to interrupt. I'm just looking for the language.
it should be in SharePoint.
Where in SharePoint?
Are you talking about the draft? Now, there was some email that had some language.
So,
The draft, it's the first in SharePoint. It's 20032-28 administrative section 12 for vote. I believe that's the.
Did we get an updated, town council errors?
yeah,
It was sent to you at 5:12 today because I got it at 5:09.
it says reads.
So we're gonna go through that.
So check your email, Christina, because it should be in there. So the other 2 were in SharePoint.
So the one in SharePoint is not correct? I'm so confused. I'm not following.
So the 2 in SharePoint, one is Article 12 and one is the section 12, the administrative, and one is 6.5. Those are most updated in SharePoint. Legal
Right.
counsel ended up providing an amended version at 5:09 today, and it was sent out by email. And he made some slight changes to the Scribner's error section.
I guess we talked about the fees and penalties, and that language isn't changed.
What?
fees and penalties language, did that change?
Penalties and non-criminal disposition, nothing has been changed in these.
Yeah, town council was gonna give language to Betsy, and then we were gonna approve at this meeting, and we had changed it from criminal disposition, from penalties, and we changed everything to 300, and each day shall constitute an offense.
I had that in my.
And there's some other things that weren't changed.
In 6.5 or 12?
12.
12.
Jonathan, do you want to weigh in on the criminal and non-criminal disposition language?
Sure. I'm just pulling up section 12 now, but I'm not sure what draft you all are looking at, but we can, if I'm remembering the last draft that I looked at, we can essentially copy the language that's in the disposition section. If you just bear with me, I'll try to find what you all are looking at.
So, is the one that I sent you that you approved, and that one on page 1 says 2.2.2 penalties. Any person violating any provision of this bylaw upon conviction shall be fined $300 for each offense, and each day that such violation continues shall constitute a separate offense.
That sounds like the one that I looked at, and I'm just pulling it up.
Right. And then we talked at the last meeting about non-criminal disposition. In addition to the procedures for enforcement as described in the previous paragraph, the provisions of this bylaw may be enforced by the building inspector by non-criminal complaint pursuant to the provisions of General Law 40, Chapter 40, Section 31D. The penalty for the violation of any provision of this bylaw shall be $25 for the first offense, $50 for the second offense, $100 for the third offense, $200 for the fourth offense, and each subsequent offense. And I think Christine Delicio pointed out maybe that should be just a flat 300. I think that's what she was lobbying for at the last meeting.
I think we voted that.
We did.
We voted
More than
that.
lobbying.
It wasn't lobbying, I think
Yeah.
we voted that language.
And
Wow.
did also say, add in the language, that each day shall constitute a separate offense. We wanted to see if that would
Right.
be.
So similar to the language in 12.2.2, that each day was a separate offense.
And I also thought we said 12.2.2 would be retitled criminal disposition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, I had that also.
We voted those, both things.
I'm really frustrated. I mean, we have now town council, town planner, and these changes, like we talked about in that special permit a few minutes ago, are not getting made. And also Mary Foley was supposed to be involved in these conversations. So, I mean, her editing skills are top notch. I do not know why we're sitting here again at the 11th hour, not being able to get a correct document. This is insanity.
Let's not beat up on the town. Let's try to work together.
Well,
You wanna keep beating up on the town, you wanna keep doing that, go ahead, feel free, but it's not productive. Let's move forward, we have a warrant to get out tonight. So if you're gonna beat up on the town, I don't think it's productive.
I'm not beating up on the town.
Well, you don't know why it wasn't gotten in, you didn't know this, I've been doing this, I tried to get this agenda posted, you're beating up on the town. All night.
I'm stating facts, Ron.
Yeah, okay, let's move forward, let's work together.
So if we change these, the criminal disposition and non-criminal 300, et cetera, does it have any teeth if it's not in our general bylaws?
Is that relevant?
Yeah.
Why?
Because we're taking time discussing having fees, but if it can't actually be charged, I mean, I think we have to change the general bylaw as well, is my point. We should be doing the full picture as opposed to,
Well, we can't do that at this town
Right.
meeting.
Did Mr. Bobrowski comment on that?
I think it's, it's just knowledge that if you're gonna do a fee, you have to have it in the general bylaws for it to be, anything beyond just during zoning.
So
I
do-
would
are
I
you-
think the issue here is that, you have to take somebody to court. And so then that's Greg's call in terms of who he wants to take to court.
I don't think you have to do that for the non-criminal.
Right. But you still have to pursue it.
Yeah, my only question is we're saying we're giving the building inspector something, but we're really not because there's no teeth to it. So we have to make sure it gets in the general bylaws.
Would you like to take this out? Is that your proposal, or?
I'm just trying to state that if
You're
we're asking
stating,
to put
you're
this
stating
there,
an opinion that
we
is.
need to
Ron?
close the
Maybe
circle.
go through the chair.
Laura?
We have we have legal counsel on the Zoom with us. Perhaps you could comment on Mary's question.
Mr. Chair?
Jonathan, can you comment on the general versus?
Yes, you can adopt non-criminal disposition in the zoning bylaw and it would be effective. You don't need to do it in both places.
Okay, so it's just, thank you. And so it's just criminal that would need to be in the bylaws, general bylaws?
No, criminal disposition is in mass general laws, but most commonly you see it in both general bylaws and zoning bylaws. Non-criminal disposition, you need to explicitly adopt, whether that be in the general bylaws or the zoning bylaws, depends on the circumstance, but where you all are looking to adopt non-criminal for zoning, in my opinion, it should be in zoning.
Okay, thank you. And so, if something is built 2 years down and then there's a violation, they can still designate a fee. Correct.
I apologize, I just couldn't hear that last part of the sentence, I'm sorry.
So I'm just saying, like, for an example, that if something's built and then 2 years later there's a violation, these fees can still be imposed.
Yes, yeah, if there's a new violation of the zoning bylaw, the building inspector can choose to enforce via non-criminal disposition.
Okay, thank you.
Christina?
So in my copy, the associate members are still in there also.
No, that was taken, I saw that taken out.
The copy that was in the folder, it's still in there.
Where did I see that taken out?
It's
I
deleted.
saw that all deleted
It's
in red.
deleted.
It's all
They're
deleted.
all deleted.
I saw that, that was done. You're looking at the wrong document. Where is that?
12.4.1, it says, establishment, the planning board shall be established in accordance with Mass General Law 4181A. Planning board shall consist of 7 elected members elected for 3-year terms. And anything related to the associate member has been deleted.
Oh, I'm really sorry. I was looking at the ZBA. My apologies.
Do you want other edits to 12 or? So on page 3, 12.4.2.3, where it's referencing sections 12.5 and 12.8, 12.8 should be 12.6. And on page 5, 12.5.9, the last sentence, it references Mass General Law 40A, Section 17. It's actually Mass General Law 40A, Section 9.
Which one, Mary?
12.5.9.
The lapse?
For lapse. But I would like to see added, which we do for Dover amendments, the 40A, Section 17, which refers to appeals. So I think we need that in that section.
So where was 48, section 9?
12.5.9, lapse of time is 40A, Section 9, not 17. 17 pertains to appeals.
Well, that sentence says, or await the determination of appeal as referenced in General Law, Chapter 48, Section 17. So it refers to an appeal.
So so I guess I would suggest either labeling it lapse and appeals or relabeling it.
Mr. Chair, and
Mr. Murray.
So you're correct, Ms. Foley, that the lapse is in 48.9, but I think the language is accurate because it refers to, and it looks like it's taking it right out of 48.9. It says, zoning bylaw shall provide that a special permit granted under this section shall lapse within a specified period of time, not more than 3 years, which shall not include such time required to pursue or await the determination of appeal referred to in section 17. So it looks like this language is tracking 48.9.
Should we reference section 9 as the lapse or no?
You can, I don't think it's necessary, because 48.9 will control regardless of whether it's in this section or not, but as a matter of policy, you can, but it's fine.
Okay, it seemed odd that we weren't consistent with what we did in the Dover section, but that's all right. And then my only other is these corrections didn't get made on page 10, 12.8, 12.8.1 and 12.8.2. Instead of referencing section 4, they both need to reference section 6 for parking.
Section 6.
Could you say that again? 12.8
1 and 12.8.2.
Section 6. Oh, wait, 12.8.2 is right.
Section 4.
Section 4 is the table
Yeah,
of
table of
uses.
uses is section 4.
So just the first one?
Yeah, just the first
Yeah,
one.
that's right.
Actually, it should be.
Well, table of use and parking
Parking
regulations,
regulations in
12.8.4 and 12.8.6.
So it should say the table of use in section .4 and the parking regulations in section 6.
Yeah.
So should it say 4.2? Because section 4 has other.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay, I've got those.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Murray.
Can, I know the town planner is taking down all these last minute changes. Can we just go back to non-criminal and criminal disposition and square that one away quickly?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So 12.2.2, the word penalties should be struck and it should be criminal disposition.
Got that.
Unless the board wants something different, but, and then in 12.2.3, in the second sentence that starts with the penalty, it should read the same as above. So it should read, the penalty for violation of any provision of this bylaw shall be $300 for each offense, and each day that such violation continues shall constitute a separate offense, period.
Right, that's what.
You have that?
That's what we voted.
Swear you have that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Murray. Anything else, Ms. Creighton?
First of all, I missed the opening of this public hearing, but I have watched the video in its entirety from the June 6th meeting. The question that I wanted to bring up was under the 12.6 site plan review, and it's related to the second article, which is to suggest a new section 6.5 in the event that section 12 did not pass. It seems to me that it would be more strategic to have those two, the language of both those articles be identical. because we're gonna get confusion about why they're different. And so I would suggest that we contemplate at least taking the language proposed under 6.5, the Article 2, 6.5, and using that in section 12.6. There are some, maybe we missed some of the edits that were proposed in the new section 12, but I think it's a cleaner, easier to explain rationale. And then, so that's my first, and because that's a priority, it doesn't muddy that water with, we're changing it as well. That's my first comment for discussion, I guess, and maybe advice from Jonathan. My second comment is related to Article 2, and I'm gonna, if you don't, with the chair's permission, I'm gonna raise it now because it's related, that's okay. And that is, and I don't know if we can even do this the way the hearing was posted, but I would suggest that if section 12 fails in its entirety, that rather than inserting 6.5, that we insert into the existing section 12, 12.6, and combine the existing 12.6 and 12.7, which are fairly minor, in my opinion, even if not minor. So that the references in Jonathan's very nice table to section 12.6 don't then have to be edited on town meeting floor to be 6.5. You see what I'm saying? So we're aligning all this work to align things with section 12, and then all of a sudden we're going to throw that rationale out the window.
Does it fit logically in that space?
Well, what we would have to do is renumber. What I would propose is 12.6 in the existing. 12.6 is other bylaws, and 12.7 is validity, and we just make them 12.7.1 and 12.7.2.
It's not how it was advertised, though.
I
It's
don't think we-
advertised as adoption of 12, and the second article would be adding a new section 6.5. So the new section 6.5 was taken out of the 2017 bylaw.
I understand that. I guess
I don't think you can do that.
my rationale would be that it is part of, it could fall under the section 12 part of the public.
Sarah, Betsy's saying we can't do it because of the advertising.
You can get legal counsel's advice on that.
Yeah, so I thought about that, and I was wondering if legal counsel, first of all, whether legal counsel would think it was, would fall under the first part of the public notice, which is to revise section 12.
If you wish to make changes to this 12 that you're considering right now, I think that's appropriate under the public meeting notice.
So, so there are 2 points to my question. Let's take the first one, which is simply to use the existing 6.5 and substitute it into 12 renumber it and making it the 12.6 to simplify the public's understanding of the change. And I've gone through it. I don't think there are significant important substantive issues. So maybe just get a straw about whether that people think that's crazy or not.
Yeah, why are they different?
Wait a minute, I'm confused.
The two
So
site plan reviews, why are
if
they
12
different?
doesn't pass, you want the 6.5, which is the warrant article 2, to be put in where
To be in 12.6.
12.6.4?
No, a new section, 12.6, and renumber the existing 12.6 other bylaws as 12.7.1 and renumber 12.7 validity to 12.7.2.
Mr. Chair, I apologize, and to you, Ms. Creighton, I apologize, I misunderstood what you were proposing. So just so I'm clear, you're proposing if the proposed Article 12 fails, you want to amend the existing Section 12?
Yes.
In that case, I don't think we've properly noticed amendments to the current.
Okay, then forget that thought. When we take up that article, then I have some additional comments. So ignore that second part of it. My first question is, why would we make them different? Because it will be confusing to people that Section 12, unless the argument is Section 12 is the new improved, and Section 5 is going backwards. Section 6.5 would be going backwards.
So
Chris,
I'm not sure I disagree with you, Sarah, but I think the strategy was that if 12 doesn't pass, what we're saying is that let's just take the old language that we deleted and stick it back in. So
If
that's just.
I
We
understand
still
that.
have a section 12, but it's just a little bit old, it's the original one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
which
let's
is,
stick
we
with
made
the
a little
same-
bit of tweaks to anyway, right, didn't we?
Yeah. Okay, I think it's potentially very confusing for the public, to see two versions trying to do the same thing. It's a different purpose, section, and so forth, but, I just, it's late to be trying to interject this, but it did occur to me when I was looking at it tonight. I'm optimistic that section 12 in its entirety will pass, and, that will be fine. The concern, the third part of this concern is if you look at Jonathan's table of changes, the site plan review is all referenced as 12.6. And so on the town meeting floor, we would have to change that reference from 12.6 to 6.5 if we were in that morass. So.
Isn't the version 12 better?
Of course it's better.
So why don't we just make the old version the new version? Is that go back to it? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm just asking the question, but maybe the argument is exactly as Chris has said, is that section 12 is improved. We hope to pass it in its entirety and pass over going backwards.
Well, we can't pass over, we have to put it in.
No, we would pass over the second piece. We will pass it.
Oh.
Town meeting will adopt the change, and then we would pass over.
That's over Article 2.
Article 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe I've confused everybody, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Any board comments on the change of 6.5? That Betsy,
Everyone is
Sarah
confused.
suggested.
So are we totally done with 12?
Okay, let's just stick with 12. We can.
All right, back to 12. Any other comments on 12?
So we have the criminal disposition, the non-criminal disposition, there've been changes to those. We've changed 12.4.2 number 3 to the reference sections are 12.5 and 12.6. That has stayed the same. We have some changes in the back, stamped by a registered professional engineer.
Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Right, there were some changes on page 8, numbering changes. On site plan review with the Dover amendment, 12.8.1, we've changed, table of use is section 4.2, and parking regulations are 6.1.
12.8.2 is okay.
No, that changes to 12.2.
12.8.2 changes to 4.2?
No, the section 4 reference changes to 4.2. But the 12.8.1
.1.
changes to 6. Yeah. Correct?
Changes the table of use, so that
Section.
last line, table of use is section 4.2, and parking regulations is section 6.1.
That's right.
Correct.
Ron, I have one more comment.
Sarah?
Yeah, it was, a comment I heard from, someone is that the purpose of site plan review in the old, 6.5 is more robust than the purpose in the proposed 12.6.1. So I think you can read 12.6.1 is intended to promote sustainable development that will not result in detriment to the neighborhood. In the existing deleted 6.5.1, it enumerates the consideration of site plan shall assure protection of adjacent areas, convenient and safe vehicular traffic, I'm paraphrasing, adequacy of facilities, protection of environment, promotion of appropriate arrangement of structures, coordination with systems, and compliance with other applicable sections of the bylaw. So are we confident that our existing regulations in the new section 6 capture those things? And I think if they do, then that's the answer for why we've shortened the purpose statement.
So,
Ms. Foley?
so like I had said at last meeting, my concern with the site plan and the special permit, I do think the current 6.5 or the old 6.5 has more teeth than what is being proposed, especially if we're linking to the performance standard 6.3 that then allows waivers to happen. So I think if we're looking for something with more teeth, we should propose the 6.5 instead of the new.
Yeah, what was so improved about the other one?
May I?
Yeah.
So I spent
Go
some
ahead.
time on it.
Yes,
So we did work in the performance criteria. Again, the waivers are at the board's discretion if there's an element that's not relevant to what we're looking at. I think we spent a lot of time on that last time. But the purpose, I'm working from memory here, but the purpose that I do believe we did spend some time on in the new section 6, which adds some additional things having to do with climate resiliency, site resiliency, and so forth. So I think that those are in there, our section we're not looking at the moment.
12.6.7.
Yep, I see them as 12.6, 6.3.7 has site development standards, which do incorporate the purpose, so I'm comfortable with
Right,
that.
so the purpose is explicit elsewhere.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
More teeth?
What's that?
More teeth?
No, because the teeth can be pulled out, so that concerns me greatly.
Okay. So where do we stand on the language for 12? We've got,
I think I have all the changes that everybody's,
is there any
Okay.
other?
So I'd like to move that we approve section 12.
Should I take public comment
Oh,
first?
yeah, sure, go ahead.
Ms. Pierce? Could you identify yourself?
Hi, yeah, Sarah Pierce, 9 Friend Street. So this is extremely confusing to the public. It seems like there are administrative changes, yet there are total substantiated changes about what will be happening. It's at the board's discretion. Nothing's in writing, and this is very reminiscent of a past town meeting where bylaws were put forward and it was extremely hard to understand. We're like 14 days away from a special town meeting, and you guys are still deciding without a unanimous, but just a majority vote as to what is right for this town. And a lot of people do not agree with this. And it's frustrating for many residents who do not want to take the time to sit in on these meetings, who just keep going on as votes 5-2, 5-2, 5-2. It is very frustrating. And I think when you get to a special town meeting, you're going to see that most residents feel the same way that they did about the last town meeting, when bylaws are trying to be changed, not just administrative, but actual bylaws that will have long-lasting, long-term effects on this town, especially when we have huge projects coming at us, such as the MBTA. We need to be super conservative, or at least looking at what we're doing to change or move things in a direction that looks at what we're doing to preserve this town. You cannot put things back once they are changed, and this is extremely important. I would really like the board to pay close attention to this. I have sat in on the MBTA task force. I applaud and appreciate everyone that has gone into that, but this is a serious issue, and if we start making changes and waving things through or changing waivers and special permits, why are we doing this at a time when we're in such a volatile state? So that's my comment, and I would really hope the board listens and understands that there are many, many people that are not willing to vote to make major changes towards opening up zoning to a free-for-all to this small coastal town. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yes?
Yeah, Karen Bennett, 28 Lincoln Street. I've read all of Article Section 12 that's being proposed, as well as Section 6.3 that was referred to within Section 12. And I'd like to have the opportunity to do a citizen's petition regarding the language on waivers. But it appears that based on our general bylaws, we have to have that 28 days in advance to get the 100 signatures. And that's in our bylaws, so how do we do that? How do we put in a petition? It seems really unfair to the residents that have paid attention, have attended all these meetings, and not being able to have a petition in enough time seems like you just don't care what the residents have to say, or the people that oppose what you might be doing.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments from the public?
Can town council weigh in on that, on the 28 days and us being only 14 days out?
That is a curious question, because town meeting as tight as it is. So I don't know how that applies to this particular special town meeting.
I think Greg has his hand up, Ron.
Greg, you're muted. Greg Federspiel, you're muted. Thank you. Still muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you. A couple of comments. One, you can always make a motion to amend the article rather than go the petition route. So that's one option. And petition articles can be submitted at any time. You don't have to wait until a warrant is posted. So you could put in a petition article at any time. There's no requirement that petition articles have to wait for a warrant. In fact, they should not wait for a warrant because you want to get, the warrants are often put in after that deadline. They almost always are. So petition articles can be prepared and be ready at any time. And it takes, you can always call a special town meeting by petition as well. So there's multiple avenues available to residents if they want to change something or propose something for the town meeting to consider.
Can I ask a question on that?
Thank you, Greg. Mary?
But is it, so, Greg, I'm confused, so I just looked at the town meeting, it says an article to be inserted in a warrant for a town meeting must be delivered to the Board of Selectmen and a copy to the Secretary of Finance Committee, 60 days for an annual town meeting and 28 days for a special town meeting. So are you saying people can still get a warrant article in for this special town meeting?
No, not for this special town meeting, no, but at a future town meeting, certainly. Or they could have submitted it 2 months ago. There's no requirement that you can't submit it ahead of time. In fact, we do that every time. The annual town meeting, you have to get it in 60 days prior to the annual town meeting. The warrant typically is not finalized until 3 weeks before that meeting. So it's the same process.
No, I understand, but this seems like a unique situation where this special town meeting was just called for the school budget, and then other items are quickly trying to be inserted in. I just sat in at the meeting down the hall, and so what recourse do the residents have if they want to, you know, besides letting something get voted in and then have to wait till the next town meeting? Are we just not going by the general bylaw?
No, we're following the general bylaws. So if someone doesn't want to have an article go through, they vote it down, or they propose an amendment, or they put in a petition article to change it at a subsequent town meeting. So that process is available at all times.
Ms. Philbrook?
So I had a question on that. The particular provision that was objected to, hasn't that been in what we've been considering for quite some time? We haven't suddenly put that in, have we, at the last minute?
I don't think so.
It's always been in.
Ron, if I may,
Sarah Creighton?
I was gonna make the same point, that the waiver of standards 6.3.13, first of all, is not the subject of this public hearing. It was approved in November 2022 as part of Section 6, and I think waivers are a pretty standard part of zoning, and so it would not, just to follow up on Greg's point about amending an article, it's not, that provision is not on the warrant if we move this Section 12 forward, only by reference. So the Section 6, so there would not be an opportunity at this town meeting to amend something on the warrant that is not on the warrant, which is Section 6.3.13. So, and the other thing for people who, I'm sorry that people find this confusing. It is challenging and detail oriented, and we, I hope we'll get a chance to talk a little bit about what we do on that problem. But I also think it's very important to remember that all of the zoning articles that were presented in November were passed.
Thank you. Any other comments? Ms. Pierce, you have something new to add?
Yes, Ron, this is Lorraine Iavani, if you can hear me, I'm calling in. May I make a comment, please?
Go ahead. Could you identify
Okay,
yourself?
great.
Could you just?
Absolutely. Yes, can you hear me? Lorraine Iavani, 28 Pine Street. I did write correspondence today. I apologize for the short notice. One of the concerns I have is, excuse me, cell signaling raised an issue, as you know, June 6th of this year with
Oh, you're muted, sorry. Hold on.
Can you hear me now, Ron?
Yes, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, all right, if I may, I'm gonna start one more time.
Yeah.
I believe, June 6th, 2023, Representative Glovsky indicated on behalf of Soul Signaling that with regard, I think it is section 6.2, that certain verbiage provisions on site plan review were missing. And it was problematic for them because they were concerned about delay. And I know all of you do not want delay. And quite frankly, I thought the whole purpose of what we were going to do here, rather than a massive overhaul of that section 12, which we never got to on November 14th of 2022, I thought what we were going to do was actually take that section that is of concern to cell signaling and try to incorporate the provisions that your board can effectively use in order to move their project forward. And that's really, we're looking at, the major goal here, which is obviously to ensure that this project goes through without any delay. So, that's my main concern. And I have, like other folks here, apart from what they're doing, I do review and attend some of the meetings, as you all know, and I do input. And I have been following some of this discussion, and quite frankly, I like to think of myself as somewhat educated in a few areas, and I am having an awful time trying to figure out why we keep moving the goalpost up to the 11th hour here. And I am listening to the concerns also of some of the people on the board. I don't know what's factual and what is not, but obviously the communication is a huge issue here. So basically, that's pretty much what I want to say. I would like you to really consider, and I know Sarah, is concerned, what happens if the 12, whatever it is that you're going to come up with here, I have no idea where you are. You need a snapshot, and you need to just halt it at some point. But if it fails, where are we with this site plan review for cell signaling? And that's really the issue that has to be answered tonight. So basically, that's all I have to offer, and I do appreciate it. I hope you looked at my email today. And thank you very much for your time. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Erin Bennett again. Could you tell me how residents know about the special town meeting? Because it's not on the town website. So how, they don't even have notice at this point.
That's something for the town to get out.
Well, it's embarrassing that we don't even have that out there, my opinion.
Thank you. Any other comments, Ms. Pierce? Okay, so you were going to make a motion.
There's a motion to approve.
So should I need to close the public hearing at this point?
No, because the public hearing still has to address these two other articles.
Ah. Right. So motion to
Yes,
approve the
I'd like to
language.
unmove. Ron?
I'm
This is
sorry,
Sarah
yes.
Pierce. I'm sorry, the website is very glitchy via the town or my own home, but I do want to make another comment. So procedurally, I'm still confused. 14 days before a special town meeting, if the board is not clear on what they're presenting on Article 12, can you clearly say that these are just administrative changes, or are there actual?
So can I just make a comment that we will be discussing as an agenda item right after this, how to get this out to the public. What we want to do, maybe we want to hold a workshop. I was going to address the actual public part of this. It's on our agenda right after this. So once we vote the language, then we can, go ahead and make cross tables.
I know,
So
it's
that's what
just
we need to do
concerning from a
first.
resident's point of view that you're voting language in, and then that can't be overturned. So if we go to a second point of this, there's a lot of back and forth, and this is exactly what continues to happen on the planning board. Unfortunately, no fault and all due respect to all planning board members, but there should not be this much confusion. You're a planning board, there are issues at hand, you need to work together. Residents are trying to understand what is happening for the town. We have a lot of big issues in front of us, and there's a huge disconnect. So I'm not sure what is the next phase you're gonna go on to, but you're gonna vote things through before you go on to explaining. I'm not clear.
We're trying to come up with final language for the warrant articles this evening.
Okay,
That's it.
So final language would explain.
Okay, I'm not gonna get into a back and forth. Thank you for your comments.
Okay, Ron, well, there's a lot of back and forth between you and your board members. And
Understood,
it seems,
I understand. I understand.
well, it's unfortunate because to the public it seems really disrespectful, but thank you. Thank you for listening to my comment. Have a good night.
Thank you. So on the Article 12, the final language, I'd like to take a motion to accept the language as mentioned tonight.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Mary?
Are you asking for us to vote before we see final language?
We have to. It's due tomorrow.
Well, again, it's pressure, it always is, but okay, that's my question.
I don't know how else.
You can't change the clock.
Well, again, to reiterate what people keep saying, and we've been working on this for 3 years, so it's not as if we've rushed to the finish line here, we've been working on this. So it shouldn't be a rush, but it is.
Sylvia, you have a comment?
Yes, Sylvia Friesenberg, 52 Masconomo Street. I've heard from several of some of the public comments, the statement that the people are the citizens or the public, as a sweeping statement, as if that represents everybody. And I just wanted to say that, no, you do not represent me in your opinions. So this mistrust that I hear constantly, I think you make the work of the planning board very, very difficult. Thank you.
Okay, just waiting for Laura to get back to vote this.
While we're waiting,
Gilbert.
maybe to ease Mary's concern, we could just go over the few things that we changed from the document that we started with tonight. I mean,
thought
that
Betsy-
really were just about 4 things. Changing penalties to criminal, sorry, my eyes, criminal disposition, changing the offenses in 12.2.3 to 300, and with the language for each offense, with each additional day would be an additional offense, and then change the 12.8 to 12.6, and then the other numbering change. And that was it, I think.
So I would, thank you, I appreciate that, but I would just respond just as like my vote for Black Earth. In my professional life, I do not vote on things that I have not seen, so I don't want to do that on the planning board, so
Understood. Okay, so we have a motion to accept the language, warrant language for Article 12 as amended tonight, as Sue just read. Is there a second to that?
Sarah made a second.
Sarah made a second?
Yeah.
So it's, okay, and so we've had any further discussion? Roll call vote, Ms. Filbert?
Yes.
Ms. Foley?
no.
Mr. Only?
Yes.
Ms. Tenney?
Yes.
Ms. Delisium?
No.
She said,
Said no.
she said no, okay. And Ms. Creighton?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. The warrant passes 5-2. Next, section 6.5, site plan review, Ms. Ware.
So this was the backup, should Article to Section 12 not pass. And this was the site plan review that was in the zoning prior to it being deleted. So we've made a couple of changes, in reference, so in 6.5.2, the off-street parking is 6.1. And in the decision, 6.5.6, again, 6.1 is referenced. And those are the only changes that we've made.
I believe, that the
Registered in
reference section
Massachusetts.
6.9, site plan review of special permit is also.
Yeah, that was deleted.
And the
I move that we that we move the warrant article number 2 for the addition of new section 6.5 site plan approval as printed.
I'll second it.
You did add the Commonwealth of Massachusetts registration wording.
I don't see that.
No, it wasn't in there.
I don't see it.
The
In
engineer registered.
6.5.4?
Is
So
that, did that get added? I thought we talked about.
It's in the rules and regs, and,
But
But it isn't.
It's not in this because
Looking
this is
at
the
it.
original. We're not changing.
this,
it.
No, we're not
yeah,
changing
this
it.
was
Okay.
what was there
So
before.
we're gonna do that, okay. Sorry, so go ahead, Sarah, you made that motion and then you seconded
I'll second
the
it.
motion. So any discussion, Mary?
No, thank you. But thank you, Ron,
Took the
no.
liberty. No discussion from the board, any public discussion? Okay, I'll take a motion, I'll take a vote, roll call vote, Ms. Philbrick,
Yes.
Ms. Foley,
Yes.
Ms. Zaroli,
Yes.
Ms. Tenney,
Yes.
Ms. Creighton,
Yes.
Ms. Delicio,
Yes.
Yeah, it was a yes.
okay, motion passes 7-0.
Ron, if I may, I'd like to make a motion that we will pass over this article of 6.5 if the article on section 12 passes.
Oh, I'll second that.
Okay, motion made and seconded, any discussion? Roll call vote, Ms. Philbrick,
Yes.
Ms. Foley, deep thought,
Well, I wanted to ask a question. Can
Oh,
I ask a
so-
question?
discussion.
I mean, we have to give context at town meeting, of section 12 and section 6.5. And is somebody gonna lay out the, 6.5 would be making us whole, but this is changing and, okay. I'm fine with that, yes.
Mr. Only?
Yes.
Ms. Ms. Tenney,
Yes.
Ms. Creighton,
Yes.
Ms. Delicio,
Yes.
Yes.
and the chair votes yes, 7-0, unanimous.
Can I ask you a question going back to 12? Not about the article, just about, so the other articles, at the end of each article, we say, or take any other action relative thereto, and we don't for section 12
We
article.
can add it.
And I don't know why. So we might need to revote on that.
Can we accept that, Jonathan, as an amendment to our motion?
Yes.
So to Mary's amendment.
So I guess I'll amend my motion to add that language at the end.
So that's a second from Sarah?
Yes.
Any discussion? Raise a hand for accepting the change.
We accepting the change or the whole?
Just a
Just adding
change.
any other action there too. The
Adding
standard
adding-
language that
So my
goes in.
vote is still no to,
Yes, that's right.
okay.
Okay, Ms. Creighton, yes or no? And Ms.
Yes.
Delicio?
No.
No, right?
We didn't hear
I
it.
think she said no. We didn't hear you.
I said yes.
Yes, okay. 6-1. Now, Article, the Scrivener cross-referencing changes. Ms. Ware. Now, can we do this without town, did we get town council to
I
opine?
defer to town council on this.
Okay, Mr. Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So there's a lot of different types of amendments we're making in this proposed article, including some deletions of sections as well as references to new sections that don't exist. So I understand, and I believe that the town planner sent me some language from a prior town meeting that allowed some cross-references, but where we're referencing new sections that don't currently exist in the bylaw, where we're adding particular language that doesn't exist in the bylaw, and where we're referencing new sections that don't yet exist. I don't think we can do this administratively. I think this requires a town meeting vote.
So we should move forward on this cross-referencing. And I think we got a table today, correct? There's a draft and then there's a final draft. You received that through an email today, am I correct?
We got a paper copy that,
You have a paper copy in front of you.
I don't have that.
yes, you do.
Yes, you
Right
do.
here.
Oh. This is the final draft? This is draft. So there's one called final draft.
When it says V3 at the bottom, that is Jonathan's most recent draft.
I thought
Chair,
I thought the bookmark said final draft on what I read.
the final draft and the version 3 are the same document. The final draft is just the clean version of it. So, so
Which
the red
I
line.
didn't print out because everybody likes tracker change.
Track changes, yes. Okay. That's great.
They're the same document, just final draft is the clean version of version 3.
Okay. So, Ms. Creighton, you have.
Yeah, I've gone through Mr. Murray's changes, and I've also gone through Mary's changes. Almost all of Mary's changes are reflected in Jonathan's changes. And I concur with them with only a few exceptions. So I would like to suggest we just take the exceptions, unless you want to go through these one at a time, one by one.
Ms. Foley.
So we just got this, so we haven't reviewed it. And I guess I would like to know why, and this is a 2-minute look. I mean, I can list at least 5 of my changes that didn't get in, and so I'm wondering to town council why they didn't get in, like, you know, there's section in the, oh my gosh, I just blanked out the section,
I'm having the same problem today.
I'll give you the section, I can't think of what the gosh darn name of it is, inclusionary housing that got dropped off for whatever reason, and I think it's important that we would add back that language and add back that chart. I don't know why that didn't make it in, or items like District D is now D1 and D2, that doesn't seem to make it in. And I'm happy to go through one for one, which I think we should, but I'm just curious why town council didn't want to put those in.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Murray, comments?
Through you to answer Ms. Foley's question, certainly it was, I have no desire to add or not add anything. This was simply a matter of making sure that the board and the town complied with public notice laws. I received your list a few days ago. I went through the list, and to the extent that there were corrections or comments on the list that I drafted that was properly published, I made those changes or I provided comments. To the extent that we did not provide public notice, I did not add them back in here. So this was not a matter of intent or whether I passed judgment on your proposed changes. This was simply just a matter of complying with public notice requirements.
Ms. Foley.
So, yeah, and I appreciate that, yeah, I don't think it's with any ill intent. I'm just concerned that we're not doing the basics here of getting our zoning bylaw documents whole before we start wanting to propose changes to section 12 and other items. So I think we're doing a disservice, you know, we're adding stuff upon stuff that's still broken, and again, in my world, that's not professional, so I just have concern with that.
Mr. Chairman?
Ms. Creighton.
I think that the work that has been done by town council fixes a lot of broken things. They are errors, omissions, human errors, and I think they do exactly what we want to do, which is to clarify and to make things accurate. And I think that he has done a great job of laying this out in a way that is understandable to the public and to us. I've checked through all of them, and I don't have a problem with that. I think there are two issues that Mary has raised, which I think are legitimate typos. The first is the misplacement of the section of the 10.3.1, which is clearly in the wrong place. It's a typo. And then the other typo is the missing section, which she identifies as 6.14.6, which was renumbered at one of the town meetings to section 9.4 and should be in our bylaw. It's a typo. So those two things are just errors in the translating the town meeting votes to the paper copy. And I guess my question for Jonathan would be, maybe even outside of this meeting, it's not relevant to the public hearing, but that the next time we meet, we can just talk about how do we get typos fixed like that. And the rest of them, I think, Mary, you've done an excellent job of actually confirming all of them. And there are a couple of there's only one or two I disagree with you on, and I think we can move this along. So I think we do exactly what we want to do with this work, is to fix and make it clearer, and it's well laid out to be understandable. So if you want us, we can take them 1 minute at a time, but maybe that's the way to do it. But I don't have any problem with those that Jonathan has proposed. I guess my only concern would be that on town meeting floor, if we're making 6.5 special permit, we're going to have to change 12.6 to 6.5 in this document. But I think that's explainable.
Any other board comments on the document? Scribner, cross-referencing.
If you want, I can go through the comments on. I think that I didn't have any comments on Mr. Murray's revised section. I had a couple of comments on Mary's that I think are the rest of Mary's are aligned with Jonathan's. How do you want to proceed?
Well, we can go through them. That's the pleasure of the board. You want to accept them?
I just accept them,
Yeah. If you want, I can go through the ones that the exceptions for Mary's, which are fairly small.
Why don't we do that?
Okay. I think that the authority and purpose and the introduction are out of scope, which is for the public hearing. The question in reuse regulations 4.3.2 is the reference to 12.6 correct? And I think the answer is yes, that is site plan.
The next one, 4.2, table of allowed uses. Mary says they should state not for profit. They currently say charitable and philanthropic, so I think that's not worth trying to worry about.
So can I just ask a question? Because, so are you, the 12.6, are you referring to if section 12 gets voted in, or what our current 12 is?
When section 12 gets voted in.
Okay, so what's the, okay, and if section 12 doesn't get voted in, we need to change all these on the floor.
Correct. Because that's the same in Jonathan's table. It's assuming 12 gets voted in. Am I correct, Jonathan? Yes, okay. And we've done that before. On Mary's, I don't know why I don't have her set page 2, sorry. I don't have I got jammed in my printer, so I'm gonna have to skip that, but on her page 3, all of them I concur with, except I mentioned the typo, so that's from section 8.3 through 9.3.11.1. With the exception, as I think Jonathan is correct that 9.3.10.4, section 11.1.1 should change to 9.3.10.2. Jonathan is correct on that one. I cross-referenced that. And then that last one that Mary identified and asked about is what happened to section 4.4. This is on Mary's page 5. So what happens, that was the LCD section, and that LCD section is now referenced item by item in the column, the last column on the right in the use table. And I double checked that each of the uses that were previously in section 4.4 are now in the use table in that LCD section.
But the language was taken out. I guess the clarifying language. Can we just make sure, so we don't have, our zoning map never got into the zoning bylaws, and the District D map never got revised? Where do we stand with that? Or is that not?
I thought that went.
We have a new mapping company, and I am working with them on that.
But that's not relevant for this hearing tonight. So I'm going to move that we accept the article as present, the use table as the revised use table that was presented tonight, and move it forward to town meeting.
Before you do that, Sarah, I'll take any public comment on this. Are there any further board comments? Ms. Peterstorp? Sylvia, do you have a comment? Hand is up. Doesn't sound it. Ms. Pierce, you have a comment? Okay, maybe the town website is screwed up. I don't know. Seems to be any availability to unmute. So.
Ron, one more comment.
Sarah?
In Mary's page 2, I think residential district D is encompassed. It's my opinion that it encompasses D1 and D2, but if the board felt otherwise important to specify D1 and D2, we could add those references in 6.4.2. Actually, they are. I think you're looking at an old version because the amended version amended in October does have D1 and D2. And 6.9 was removed in the amended, the new section 6. So I think that that is taken care of.
Hi, this is Sarah Pierce, sorry. There is some glitches in the town website, or maybe my internet, I'm not sure. But not to be redundant, But the public can only rely on air quote typos. We have nothing else to see but when people do actually tune into these meetings. So typos are actually very important, and we need things to be in writing and clear in order to attend meetings and vote. So I would just ask that anything that's being changed is corrected before a special town meeting that's scheduled at this point. If you could all let me know on June 28th.
That's correct. That's what
Okay.
we understand.
It just seems like a short time frame when things are so still up in the air and not completed. So I'm just trying to get a gauge on that, and if there's any way to get the typos clarified and what the actual things people would be voting on are clarified, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Gail?
I'll just note that the meeting packet is on the website, so every document that the board's referenced is on the website.
That's not reflective of the actual meetings though, so that's confusing.
Okay.
You just can't find it.
No, it's not
Let's not
reflective
have,
of what.
okay, let's not discuss that right now. Let's move on. We'll talk about getting the information to the public next.
Great, thank you.
Let's talk about moving the changes, the motion. Sarah, you made a motion? You're ready to make a motion?
Yep, I think that, move the article as amended and revised in the most recent version tonight, which I think it only had one or two amendments, to the town meeting warrant.
You weren't making any changes as to what Mr. Murray has written, as is. So is there a second on that?
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion?
So I would just say that it's not perfect, and Mary's found more things that we need to take up at the next town meeting, which is great. We should do it. These have been published, and we should take this step forward and make these corrections.
I'd like to say that Mary confirms Jonathan, by and large, and Mary and Jonathan's lists are exactly the same.
Any further discussion? Yeah. Stars. All those in favor, show of hands here.
We're not going to do roll call this time?
All right, let's do a roll call. Ms. Philbrick?
Yes,
Ms. Foley?
absolutely not.
Mr. Only?
Yes.
Ms. Tenney?
Yes.
Ms. Delicio?
No.
And Ms. Creighton?
Yes.
So
Chair-
I'll look at it.
Chair votes yes, the motion passes 5-2.
So if Mrs. Foley's list is the same as Mr. Murray's, it's just really concerning that the town just paid town council to do the same thing that Mary has reiterated for the last 6 months. So I would really like that on the record.
Ms. Philbrick?
I'll just respond that there was a great deal more that he did in this process than simply make those few changes. I mean, he provided guidance on many of the things we've been discussing.
And I think, Mary, you asked for him to be here tonight, am I correct? Town council?
Well, for clarity, we had one list from a couple weeks ago that had maybe 8 items, and now the new list that we just got tonight added a bunch from my list. So I think that's great. It didn't add everything, but Mr. Murray already discussed that he felt like it was outside of the scope of the postings. So again, I mean, I wish we had started this process wanting to correct the zoning bylaws in its entirety, but we didn't.
I think we should have brought in town council earlier, in my opinion, on some of this stuff, but it is what we're at. So, okay, that brings
Motion to close the public hearing, do we?
Motion to close the public hearing, has it been seconded?
Second,
Any discussion? Roll call, Ms. Philbrick,
Yes.
Ms. Foley,
Yes.
Mr. Olney,
Yes.
Ms. Jenny,
Yes.
Ms. Creighton,
Yes.
Ms. Delicio,
Yes.
chair votes yes. Okay, as everybody knows, special town meeting is on June 28th. So we have a lot of items that are confusing to the public, in my opinion, and writing any bylaw is tough to sell. Granted, we're not really doing any by right zoning here, we're just making some administrative changes. But I still think we need to inform the public on what we're doing. I think there still is some confusion as to what we're trying to do here. So I'm looking to talk a little bit about how we can better get this information out now that we voted it and we have language written. So I know we have some cross tables. Chris, in our packets, we had a table of what was there and what was changed in our packet from the last time we tried to present this as a possibility. I'd like to get something in the Cricket, and the deadline is tomorrow, maybe just a write-up. And then I'd like to think maybe we should meet with the public either at our next meeting on Monday to explain, in 2 weeks, or maybe have a special meeting with the public on the 22nd of June, which I believe this room is open. So those are a couple of things I'm throwing out there, and I'll open up the floor for discussion to the board on how we present to the public.
so I have an idea, Ron.
Yeah.
I think there should be a very clear thing on the website about the proposed zoning changes for town meeting in 2 weeks. Crystal clear, here's the existing language, here's the new language, here's this table, here's an explanation of what they are, all of that, but just in a very easy place where people can go and see it.
So that's something that you would need to get with Tiffany to get done?
So Tiffany and Debbie in the town manager's office are the only two people who really have access to the website. So we'd have to work with either of them to get something on the website.
Okay. Mary?
I would suggest, I think something like this where it's the proposed new bylaw and the existing bylaw, and it's 25 pages, nobody's gonna look at that. I think what we need is, to Chris's point, very clear language. This is what's changed in the special permit section. This is what's changed in the site plan section. There's a new planning board section. We added Dover amendment, we added accommodations. I mean, it's not that complicated, right? And we need to put up the track change document from what they're seeing in bylaw right here to what's being proposed. So we should have had that track change document all along. I'm sure it's out there somewhere, so people can see that, what changed in each section and what was added. So again, 25-page thing somebody's not gonna read. We need bullet points. Here's the sections, here's what was added, here's what was deleted, here's what was changed in the special permit site plan, etc.
Have hands up from Jonathan and Sarah Creighton. Let's start with you, Jonathan. You have a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I didn't want to interrupt the discussion. I know I was asked to be here for the bylaw changes, and I'm more than happy to stay if I could be of help, but I'd like to be respectful of the board's and the town's time as well, so.
Yeah.
Just want to.
Any problem with town council leaving?
No.
You're free to go. Shut the meeting off.
Thank you.
Okay, Sarah, you had a comment?
I'm gonna make a motion to authorize the town planner and the chair to write a short article in the Cricket for tomorrow to just summarize where we are first. then we'll take up some other things. But I think that's important, that we get a quick article in tomorrow and authorize Ron and Betsy to do that.
I would, just to follow up on that, if an article gets written, I request that there's been a narrative that these are just administrative minor changes, and I don't agree with that, so I think some of the substance needs to be spelled out, and it's not minor changes. So if an article is written, I think we need to be clear.
A lot of writing, but we'll try to summarize as best we can. Laura?
That's a motion to just to get something in.
I'll second the motion to get this going.
Any discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor? Hand raise. Sarah and Christina, are you in favor?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and now next, how do we present, how do we get this information out to the public? What's our best path forward? And Laura, go ahead.
Thank you. We might be able to kill two birds with one stone here to some degree if the article tomorrow for the cricket stays high level. I don't think it should be repetitive with, the long-winded version, but if it says the purpose of why we're doing this, and it can have a broad purpose, but it can also go section by section and say the purpose of, why we're substituting the new section 12 for the old section 6 and why section 6 is a backup. That might be the outline or the preamble to the longer document that we're proposing to do, which will still, I think Mary's idea is good. It's got to have fairly high level, succinct bullets about the real substantive, purposeful change from one to the next. It's not about the, the typos and oops. Oh, they're coming back. So.
Yes, it was wrong.
I'm just kidding.
There was a town
An
website.
article, there'll be a letter to the editor on this.
Should I stop talking while this is going on?
Is the television guy there?
Yeah, he's right here.
He
You
doesn't know
guys
either.
here?
I don't think that's his official title.
Everything just shut up.
Site is down again, the website?
No, this has nothing to do with the website, this is Zoom.
No, Zoom crashed, great.
Get our Zoom cap.
Yeah, hold on 1 second, I'll have it back up.
So I did a Zoom meeting last week and I went on my computer and for whatever, because that's
You
what
can
I
get
was
on the website
instructed
though,
to
I
do, and it didn't record. So 1623 had recorded it, but Zoom didn't record.
Well, they must have different controls.
Yeah,
Because
so
he's
it
got
was-
more, he's got more.
Yeah.
Check controls, I was, yes, I'm with you.
I think there's an internet issue, guys.
Yeah, I think the town website's down for me.
Well, does that come out of this building?
I don't know.
No.
No, we don't know.
I just tried
Not
to do it
necessarily.
from over there and nothing, so.
Seems like we've had internet issues all night.
Let me see if the town website, that's on.
We can get to that? I couldn't.
See, it's just in, because it's wheels, it's not showing anywhere. There should be a copy of that meeting.
This is it's giving me the ability to join from
That
browser.
meeting that we just had, there is a copy of it.
Okay.
I don't know
Yeah,
if it's
why don't
been
you try
recorded
getting
on
on?
yet,
No,
but it
you,
was recorded.
you guys did it,
Yeah.
Says
but
no internet.
I
Zoom
don't have
didn't.
the internet here.
No
It didn't get
internet.
up on Zoom. It's weird.
It's saying no internet.
Saying go home.
Damn it.
Yeah, I don't know, guys.
I have internet.
Toast. How far do we get without you?
Pretty far.
Yeah, I got internet here.
Yeah, not even.
Well, you might be on cell.
Not if you're linked
not
into
Wi-Fi.
the Wi-Fi, you don't.
Right.
No, I'm on
You
the
got
Wi-Fi.
cell.
Yeah, there's no internet.
No, I got
Yeah, it says man,
Well, I can't get in.
What would we do without internet?
But try to get to a website.
Oh, there's actually,
He can probably get
Yeah, I
to
think
another
it's telling
website,
you
he
you're
just can't get to the
Connected to it,
towns.
but then, no, I tried getting on the Manchester Library website. and
Yeah.
Couldn't get on that one either.
But try another website that's totally
Totally unrelated to Manchester,
not
okay.
connected with Manchester.
like Google. Well,
Oh,
after I
I've
get
got all
on through
kinds of
cell.
things.
Oh, yeah, there's no internet. Oh, yes, there is. Oop.
No. Yeah. I am getting another.
Yeah, so I think it's just
Yeah,
the
you're right,
towns.
it's the town's website, oh jeez. Yeah, I can get other things, unless something just kicked back. Well, now I'm getting the Manchester by the Sea Public Library, so maybe it came back on again?
Maybe the router's
Maybe the router's rebooting? You're not making it easy. Manchester, Mass, I'm back on the town website. And that is working.
Alright.
Yeah,
It's back.
yep. Is Tiffany a communications person? I mean, she's our town website administrator, but isn't she also communications trained?
I don't know what her training is.
Yeah. She's our communications person.
Yeah,
Okay.
but she's only like 14 hours a week.
Yeah. Okay.
It's something minimal like that.
Uh-huh.
So, like, I have to sit down and talk with her about how we're setting up, planning for the
And you'll be back.
Okay. Yeah.
MBTA task force.
I see.
and-
Recording in progress.
Thank you.
I'm not back, but.
You're not
They're
back.
back.
We're back.
Well, there's
Yay.
1623 meeting
Thank you.
coverage.
You're back. Is Christina back?
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're back.
Okay, but is Christina back on?
We never, the rest of us never left.
It's just us.
Okay. All right, I can't see who's on. I am not on.
You can't go to the bottom and it says participants?
No, it logged me off of Zoom, so I gotta get back
Oh.
during the meeting,
You
I
want to
guess.
use the passcode or something yet?
You're in. You're in. Oh, I don't know.
Can I borrow that in January?
You go to the town website.
Okay, I'm back. Thank you, Mary. Okay, we're back. Sorry for the issue. Hopefully you can hear us.
So yeah, just to continue the thought, so I was hopeful that if a letter is written tomorrow that states the general purpose and then the section by section purpose of what we're trying to accomplish, the substantive stuff, that that might provide the baseline for the what gets posted on the website. There'll be some continuity there, but then that could be expanded. I'm hopeful that between Betsy and Tiffany's time, I know they both have a lot to do, but if that communication could kind of roll out building on the Cricket article, then I think for me as a reader, I would be together with a summary and kind of bullet points of, high level within each section, what is proposed to change. I think it would be more helpful to compare the existing section that is the equivalent of it, and then the proposed section. I think the track changes can get a little confusing when you pull in all the references and a lot of the other kind of scriveners and, moving sections around, it gets quite hard to track. So might be better to have a clean copy. I mean, I suppose you could do it both ways and people could take their options, but I don't know how much, time we have to do all
Let's
that.
do it noon.
Well, yeah, no, sorry, I meant what went on the website. The cricket article, I don't think ought to be the existing proposed. I think that ought to say, come to our town website and we'll post it there for you. But the cricket article should say, here are the sections we're changing, here's why we're changing them, section by section, high level purpose, and then tell you where to find more resources to read further.
So if we direct them to the town planner's website, we should have that stuff in by the time the Cricket publishes, which is Thursday. We should have the website ready if we're gonna reference it in our letter.
I don't know what Tiffany's schedule is, but I can give her stuff
That
to,
would kind of
it will be on
time.
the planning board webpage.
Hopefully, maybe Greg can help in that regard, in getting the stuff on there. Is it only Tiffany that has the keys to this?
Tiffany and Debbie, but Tiffany's the communications person. So,
We'll have to design the documents too, so.
Right, so, Sue?
So I wanted to just add one thing to Laura's summary, which I thought was perfect. We need to also say, in addition to here's why we're doing it, if it doesn't pass, this will be the result. That's an important thing to get out there in some fashion.
What if 6.5 doesn't pass?
Well, let's start with,
If one or the other?
well, I think we should address each one.
okay.
And
Well, Laura?
sorry, just to finish that thought, I think that you've written some of that in our, your memos and things about why some of these sections, why we need to attend to these sections and what the risk is to the town if we don't.
We did that last fall, yeah.
So, yeah, I think hopefully some of that is written already, it's a matter of finding it, but I agree, that's a good point.
What was that?
Or what the, so if Betsy has already written before, okay, the town needs to have rules and regs article, and here's why we're doing it, here are the substantive things that are changing, maybe it's pulling it out of subdivision, or, putting it in the right place where people can find it, and if it doesn't pass, is there any risk to the town, or is there any consideration what happens if it doesn't pass? We go back to what, it's in the subdivision rules, and it's, not as clear, or whatever,
Okay.
yeah.
Keep that part simple.
Keep it simple, don't try to map everything back, but yeah.
Sarah Creighton?
I was, sorry, we missed some of that discussion. I'm gonna, speak against having a track changes document. I think the average person does not know how to read it, and we have not administrative section 12, did not start with the original section 12. So someone who's gonna have to go back and actually map it, and figure out which language was the same and which one was not. The genesis of section 12 was an entire delete section, administrative section, and put in a new one. And so a track changes document there is not a track changes document. Maybe Mark Bobrowski had one somewhere along the way, but we've departed from that a long time ago. So I think we run a huge risk of making errors unless somebody really painstakingly figures out which things were correct, which things got changed, which things did not. I think it's better to do the summary by topic, planning board, in the existing, not defined, in the new, defined. ZBA, defined and defined, just take it by topic and say what the old was and any substantive, and the new. So that, I think a track changes document is difficult, not helpful, and very error prone and time consuming. So unless, so that's, I don't know who's gonna do it, because it doesn't exist.
Very forward.
There might have been a misconception of what I was saying. I was saying, not going back to the 2018 version, but just going back to our 2023 version and just saying what the changes are from that to section 12. And I think,
You've done it.
what's that?
I think Betsy has that, no?
Yeah, we have it.
I thought we have that.
We have the track change
changes.
from, oh, I've never seen it.
No.
From our version in here to what's being
no.
proposed. So this is our current version. So that was my proposal, that we do the track changes from what we currently have to what's being proposed, and it's not that big. I guess another concern I have with that is, we've been doing track changes for the public all along, and I don't know why all of a sudden the residents aren't up enough on track changes to follow. I mean, I think that's kind of shortchanging them. And my third thing would be, then maybe we need to change the language of the warrant article, because we say to revise section 12, we don't say to delete and replace. So we have to pick a lane and stay in it, and we're kind of jumping all over the place again. So it's concerning. So I don't think a track change is a big deal, and I have to, even for my own clarity, I'd like to understand, are we revising section 12 or are we deleting and replacing?
Sarah?
I saw that as well, and I assumed that Jonathan wrote it that way intentionally. So I didn't raise that. But if you're able to do the track changes, I think, Mary, you'd be the one to do it. I think you're the most careful on that kind of thing. But I think otherwise it's a very risky endeavor. So that's my opinion, but others, and I don't think, so if people think it's helpful, great. I'm not the one to do it. I think he's got a lot of other things happening.
So let's talk about, I think we're okay on the cricket article. I think I kind of like Laura's tact on propose why, purpose of why we're doing this, and, results if it doesn't pass, and summary bullet points. I think that's good. But I still want to know about answering maybe public's individual questions once they see this published, hopefully this week, the end of this week. So Greg just texted me, the select board is hosting a forum on special town meeting on the 15th at 6:30 and again on the 20th at 6 p.m. And he's suggesting a planning board member could be
Perfect.
present to answer questions.
Yeah, that's great, good.
Yep.
Something we may want to do instead of
Yeah, why
holding
not
our
do
What was the second date, the 15th?
the 15th, which I don't think is viable at this point because we won't have anything up for the public to see. So the 20th.
But we could attend and just,
We
have
could
and
attend
have
both.
a copy,
We could attend both.
paper copies of the material.
That's true. Who's going to attend both, or who's going to go?
I'll go. What are the times?
The 15th, 6:30, and the 20th at 6.
At 6.
6. The other volunteers?
I'll try to go.
Good. Thank you. So then I don't think we need to hold our own meeting, but What about our next scheduled meeting, which will be, I think, 2 days before the, will be the 26th, and the meeting's on the 28th. So we could, at our next meeting, put an agenda item for the public to further ask questions. Have some kind of workshop or, where it's kind of, we can try to answer as many questions as we can.
Would it be possible to ask a comment from the public just regarding the cricket article?
Yes?
Okay, thank you. Yes, again, Sarah Pierce, I'm sorry if I'm being redundant tonight. I just want to make sure with the time frame that all issues are covered. So I did hear Becky Jake say that the Gloucester Daily Times and the Manchester Cricket are two sources of identified information coming from the town. So I would just ask that anything that gets printed in the Cricket also gets printed in the Gloucester Daily Times. And I think track changes are extremely important for at least the planning board to have on file. And then in addition, for the public to understand how to vote at town meetings, we do need to print somewhere outside of the town website, which is extremely hard to navigate, and no one is waiting till the end of their day to get onto the town website to see what changes the boards have made. Because people have instilled their trust and values in the boards to make the right decisions for the town. So what I'm saying is that the town changes need to be posted. Article 12 existing as it is, and substantive changes to Article 12 to be voted on, whether that comes out in the Cricket and the Gloucester Daily Times as it should per the select board. People need to be able to see those changes so they know what they're voting on, not on just the town website. It's hard to navigate and people do not know how to do that. I've heard that from several residents and citizens. So that would be my comment and question and request. Thank you.
Makes sense.
Isn't the town warrant published and made available to everybody?
Yeah, but that's not gonna get into any detail of what the changes are.
But it provides the language for the changes.
So let's refresh our plan. An article to the Cricket and possibly the Gloucester Times, which is a good point, has to go in tomorrow. An attendance by 3 planning board members at these upcoming select board meetings. And then a agenda item for our next meeting, 2 days before a special town meeting for the public to respond and ask questions. Is that, anybody have any other thoughts?
Yeah, Tiffany also does Facebook posts, and I suppose this could be on a Facebook social media thing that she does.
And the tides.
The tide.
And then the Tides, yeah.
So do we want to,
I was gonna say the Tide could actually provide the link once we know it. Once the link's published on the website, the Tide could provide the hyperlink to take you right there, which I think would help people.
when does the Tide publish?
I think it's once a week, but I don't know what day.
It comes out on Thursday, I think.
I get it on my text.
So we have time to establish the link. And get that stuff up there.
We got the last one on the 8th, June 8th.
So 8 plus 7 is 15 and
June
today is
1st.
12, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, correct?
Yeah.
Sarah?
Yeah, I'd just like to suggest at our next meeting that we make a coherent presentation so that we rather than try to, I think it's a hard forum to take a lot of questions and answers in one of our meetings. We always have a lot of business that we're trying to attend, but maybe if we can take a make and publicize the fact that at 6:30 when we start or something, that we are gonna make a presentation to clarify the upcoming changes, and take some brief questions. But I think the question and answer format alone risks grandstanding and not having so I'd like to just frame it as a presentation to clarify, and rather than an open Q&A format. I think that given that the select board has a 2 Q&A format, sort of open house, that's a better format for that. So I'm happy to work with whomever to make that presentation. We're gonna need to have a presentation of town meeting. Anyway.
Okay, good point, Laura.
I think Sarah just said if we're developing a presentation for the 26th, perhaps that could be repeated at town meeting, and if there's any last clarifying slides that we want to add upon the public Q&A on the 26th, we could add that to the 28th, but essentially the presentation would be the same presentation with any last clarifications needed.
Okay, sounds like a plan, everybody. Any other suggestions on getting our message out? Sue?
I have one for town meeting, and we are always stuck at the end. And I don't think that's helpful, because people want to do the school, or they have their issues, and then they leave. So if you have any sway, and maybe putting us in the middle, or alternating.
Do you know what the proposed article numbers are for our stuff? I
I
thought
have
somebody
no
said
idea.
Article 2, is that the order? Has the order been established?
I have no idea.
They were talking about a bunch of articles next door.
Okay.
Well, tomorrow morning they're gonna vote it, so maybe that can be raised.
Sarah, would you attend that meeting tomorrow? You have it?
I can't be there for the whole thing, so I think Chris or Sue
I can be
or
there
others
for the
will be
first
there.
part of it,
What time is it?
8:30 in the morning.
Oh, 8:30 in the morning.
Oh, is it posted?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll listen.
I can't be there.
Is it here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, it's in
All right.
10 hours.
So I have a question. So, section 12, to see if the town of Manchester by the Sea will vote to amend zoning bylaw of the town of Manchester by the Sea to add a revised section 12.0 entitled Administration and Procedures as follows. So generally, the language is such that you delete existing 12 and you propose a revised language. So I'm just curious why that wasn't done in this one.
We just talked about that.
And yeah, you brought it up and then, but this has been kicking around for how long?
3
Two
years.
town meetings.
But actually, just hearing you read it out loud, it makes it as if we're adding another section 12. I
But
think you have to
usually
be
the
very
language
clear.
is you delete one and you add
Exactly.
one, so,
Well, we have a chance to change it tomorrow, right?
So the November warrant was to move to amend the zoning bylaw.
can't hear you.
Deleting section 12 and adding section 12.0 as follows.
So I didn't change this. So
No,
who
that-
changed it?
I think Jonathan must have.
I don't think so.
Well,
I'll
maybe tomorrow morning that can be addressed. I think.
Is that something we have to vote
I'm not
on?
gonna be around tomorrow morning I'll send him an email tonight saying, should this language also include deleting existing 12 and adding the revised section?
Do we want a motion to authorize Betsy to make any changes to any of the warrant articles, Betsy and Greg to tweak their preambles as needed.
Sure, it wouldn't hurt.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Laura?
Just briefly, that I think it's somewhat semantics, and if Attorney Murray is fine with it, I'm fine with it. You could revise something very heavily and replace most of the content, and it's still a revision, if you wanna call it that. I think so long as
He didn't do
we-
any revisions to
Yeah.
this document.
So I guess I'm going along with the motion, but I'm saying I think that the most important thing is just to make it clear
Yeah.
what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Yeah.
Revise or replace,
Well, said Greg, he can decide tomorrow when he's
yeah,
at the meeting.
it's the substance of the thing that's important.
All those in favor?
Yes.
All those opposed?
There's too many revisions going on in too many areas, I'm opposed.
One opposed. Christina, are you opposed?
Sure am.
5-2.
Can we go home now?
Okay, any more comments on how we
Bedtime reminder went off.
Any more comments on how we can get our word out to the public? Any other thoughts?
I would just say, I mean, I would take comments at our next meeting. I think it's very important in such a short time frame to hear as much as we can from the public. I don't know why we would want to shortchange that.
I don't think anybody's intending to.
Well, Sarah's proposal that it would just be a,
You know, she said it'd be a presentation and then question and answers,
Rather
than just questions and answers.
oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't hear the questions and answer part. I thought she said she didn't want comments.
I think we can answer a lot of questions by a thoughtful presentation.
When is the public allowed to ask questions?
Monday.
Okay, thank you.
In 2 weeks. And there's a select board meeting on the warrant articles, I think. Just
15th and the 20th.
50th and the 20th. The select board will be listening to you guys, to the public.
Okay, very much appreciated. It's very hard to ask questions prior to a meeting because you're not getting the information. You have to
Right,
make public
understood.
comment before you get the information.
Understood.
Thank you very much.
Posted in a
Thank
packet
you.
on the website.
We're trying. Okay, anything else on that? Otherwise, just briefly now, it's 10 o'clock. So, just a quick update on the MBTA task force. I understand you guys met and elected a chair and vice chair. And any comments to the board to brief us?
No.
No, we're gonna meet once a month.
Maybe once a month in the summer and then much more often starting in the fall. So it's data collection in the summer, and then in the fall we start doing the
We
analysis.
meet next,
Alright.
July something.
So you're gonna have data in July.
By the
This
end of
data
this-
package, this data already supposedly being posted on the task force website.
Oh, good.
There was a package of information that was given to people last Thursday night, and that packet, we're gonna put packets online, we're gonna have a question and answer, or a question thing or comment thing online. And as data gets gathered, it will be put on the website.
So like the data we had talked about was like how many units is in the general district and
Yeah,
how many are
that's,
multifamily, that's
Yeah.
going on, okay.
Has the MIT practicum professor been contacted yet? To
Greg
get-
and I are playing telephone tag with him, so,
He said early June in the last
Yeah.
correspondence, so
yeah,
it's kind of early June,
yeah.
almost mid-June.
Yeah, so there's an MIT course that is going to be working on certain issues of the MBTA zoning with the town.
Okay, so we should get them going too. While we have
Well, they
this.
won't be going until September,
But at least don't lose them.
Can I just make one comment on the MBTA?
Yes.
I wasn't able to go to the meeting and I listened to only the first 5 minutes, and then I had to stop. But I'm concerned, I just wanna make sure that well, first, what should be on the town website is what the charge is of the task force. But, you know, right from the timeline and what was submitted in the action plan and what was conveyed to the state, is you're gathering requirements for compliance and non-compliance. And right at the beginning of the meeting, one of the members said, you know, we're not looking at non-compliance, we're just looking to get a bylaw to the town meeting. So I wanna make sure that the charge is clear, that we're looking at the whole scope of data and financials and everything else.
So, to your point, Mary, town council was at the meeting, and what he said was, non-compliance is not an option for the town, because the Attorney General has said that she will sue the town if we don't comply.
But on our timeline.
So I think there can be a statement of the consequences of not doing it, but I don't think it's an option that we can decide not to.
Well, it is an option because it goes to town vote, but my point being is
Well, yeah, of course,
that.
yes, of course.
My point being is that that's what's on our project timeline, is gathering compliance and non-compliance, and that means,
Well,
you know,
again,
grants you're getting or not getting, and, you know, so residents see the full picture.
Yes, that is part
Yeah,
of it.
that's,
Okay,
yeah,
all right,
that
'cause
is
I-
part
The
of it.
risks, the consequences, yes.
Yeah, consequences, not options.
Is there a project plan yet?
No,
No,
Is there a what did you ask?
project plan.
project plan, that's at our next meeting, we'll start talking about that.
Okay, planners report, we've talked about, anybody have a comment on the liaisons or committees? If we look hours late, I think I can forego that
Yeah, please.
at this
Yes.
point. Approval of regular minutes, I think Gail posted minutes from, Mary, do you have the date? It's not on my agenda.
Oh,
May
5/8.
May 8th. Has anyone read them?
what is the comment?
Yeah, I read them.
Ron, could I just give a, 1-second update on the coastal vulnerability? Just
Absolutely.
want people to know that there is another public meeting that's just been scheduled. My understanding is it's Thursday, June 22nd at 8 PM on Zoom. And that might be the final public meeting of that task force. So just wanted to
What
make
time is it?
folks aware. I believe it's 8 o'clock
In the
on
morning?
no,
or
8
at night?
PM, 8 PM,
On the
Thursday,
22nd?
the 22nd. We should check the time, because I just saw that in an email. I didn't see an official meeting posting yet.
No, it's not on the calendar. That looked like the room was opened that Thursday.
Thursday at 8 PM.
Yeah,
Late.
there's nothing on that town calendar.
Right.
Town calendar is not really refreshed. I will mention that the now that we're talking about this stuff, the Water Resource Task Force, I think we're down to our last 2 meetings. They're gonna present to the select board. We're meeting again on Wednesday. I'll have more information at our next meeting on that. So, on the minutes of May 8th. Any, a motion to approve? Any comments?
One comment.
Yes?
I believe that the discussion of the first presentation by Black Earth Compost stated, it didn't state that the architect Seth was there presenting as well. They stated the attendance and he was not listed. He did make the presentation last time. So he should be added as a representative of the project.
Gail, could you add the architect to the attendees, Seth, from,
I would be happy to.
Thank you.
Any other comments on the minutes? Otherwise, I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so written. So next meeting, we thought we'd have that. I don't know, I don't have many items for the agenda for next meeting, except I could call in the Downtown Improvement Committee for their presentation. Or is that too close, or should I do that in
Wait a
July?
minute. We could also have the Civic Space Collaborative do their final report.
I mean, we're so busy right now, maybe we should have a light meeting and not invite everybody, but I'll leave that up to the board.
Forget, we're gonna have town meeting later that week, so.
Yeah, I would focus on town meeting.
Yeah, let's focus on town meeting, let's invite Civic's first meeting in July, same thing with DIP. Did that hurt anything by
I
doing
don't
that?
think so.
Take a motion, Christina?
So if this non-criminal activity passes, I think we should invite Paul Orlando to our meeting and talk to him about enforcement.
Try. I've tried. Good idea, I'll try to bring Paul in, you're talking about after town meeting.
Correct.
Gotcha, I've been, it's on my to-do list.
Yeah, he should be involved in a lot of these zoning issues.
We did attend the original,
I actually,
Task force, Wednesday, June 21st is the task force, and then public meeting of the.
Take a motion to adjourn,
so
nothing
moved.
else? So moved,
Yes.
all those in favor of adjourning, anyone opposed? We're adjourned, thank you all.
Thank you.